close my eyes.
About these events like the PUBG Hot Drop 2025 that we just had is simply just meeting all of these amazing people.
PUBG for putting on this amazing event. It's been so much fun. It's been so great getting to chat to the devs, getting to see everyone playing games and having so much fun. Thanks to all the team that's put it together.
It's great to be here. I can only say to other PUBG players, come here next year.
Have you ever imagined creating your own PUBG game mode? Well, now with UGC Alpha, that imagination becomes real. All Plus users can create UGC Alpha sessions. Getting started is simple. Just go to Custom Match, UGC Alpha tab, then create your own session or join a friend's. By default, only the host can edit the mode, but editing permission can be granted to participants through settings. With UGC Alpha, you can place props, build custom maps, and set your own game rules. Anyone can join and play, up to 100 players per session. Want a simple but challenging parkour mode? Or maybe a chaotic deathmatch? You make the rules. You can save your creations anytime, or load them up later to keep building, even if it's not your mode. If you find a fun session while playing, just hit Save As and keep a copy for yourself. Need a head start? Try one of the official sample modes provided in-game. In the next video, we'll dive into object placement, movement controls, and how to bring your map to life. You can use the standard WASD keys to walk around. Double-tap the spacebar to switch to flying mode. Tap C to descend and space again to go up. Hit B to enter build mode. Now you can start placing props and devices anywhere on the map. To open the full editor, press P to launch the Edit Manager. Here, you'll see all available props, from walls and stairs to full buildings. Click any object, then press 0 to 9 to assign it to a quick slot. You can now press that key to place the object instantly. Need to fine-tune? Use E and R to rotate or scale. Use F and G to adjust distance. Press X to lock to axes, and Y to ignore collision. Want to test gravity? Just hit T to toggle gravity on your object. You can also copy, delete, or multi-select with simple mouse clicks and hotkeys. Next up, we'll show you how to set the rules of your game. Rounds, respawns, teams, you control it all. Let's dive into the rule setting. Press P to open the Edit Manager, then switch to the Rule Set tab. Here, you can fully customize your game logic. Set the number of rounds. Choose a score limit or time limit to end each round. Define how many teams play, anywhere from 2 to 100. Set team size, 1 to 10 players per team. Enable or disable respawn, and set its cooldown timer. Add invincibility after respawn for smoother gameplay. By enabling fill test players, you can spawn dummy bots to test whether your custom mode is functioning properly. If you'd like to play a solo game instead of a team match, simply adjust the team count and team size settings in the rule setting menu. For example, if you want a 100-player free-for-all solo match, set team count to 100 and team size to 1. Next up, we'll introduce the devices. Let's dive into the device setting. Devices are the logic blocks of your custom mode. They make things spawn, trigger, score, teleport, explode, and way more. Let's start with the core 4. The following 4 devices are essential for creating a basic game mode. Player spawn device controls where players appear. Player event device reacts to kills, survival, or any player action. Score manager device gives or removes score based on events. Round event device resets scores at the start of a new round. There are a variety of devices you can use, like triggering a red zone or setting background music. Feel free to get creative and use them however you like to build a fun and exciting mode. Trigger is when a device sends a signal to another device to activate it. For example, if you configure an enemy kill event in the player event device and connect it to the score manager device via the trigger tab, the player's score will increase when they get a kill. On the other hand, action is when a device receives a signal from another device to activate itself. If you set the player event device as the action target of a change score in the score manager device, the change score will be triggered by the signal sent from the player event device. Coming up next, we'll build a sample mode from start to finish so you can see how it all fits together.
Chicken. New boss. Captain Crispy.
still alive. Just eviscerate the team just like that. They have taken the game.
Welcome to the PUBG Players Tour. This year, we're introducing structured competitive play in third-person perspective mode for players of all ranks, levels, and ability. Here's how it works in EMEA and Americas. PUBG Players Tour competition is held in 2-week phases. Each week, you and your squad can compete in player scrims. Think of these as a great alternative to ranked play. Each day of scrims will feature a variety of maps, with defined team and lobby sizes to ensure a balanced best-of-3 rounds. Teams will earn points based on their performance, and daily leaderboards will track their progress. When the scrims are over, the top teams will qualify for the PUBG Players Tour Cups, where they will be joined by up to 10 invited teams, featuring some of the best players in the region. Players Cup leaderboards will track team performances across 2 days of play, with the top 8 squads progressing to the final round of competition. Players Masters are the pinnacle of the PUBG Players Tournament. 8 teams from each of the 2 cups will engage in fierce competition for a huge prize pool in each region across the PUBG Players Tour season. And for times when a Players Masters isn't scheduled, you can still get your PUBG Players Tour fix with Super Cups. These work just like Masters events, where again, 16 teams, 8 from each of the 2 previous Players Cups, compete for a share of the total cash prize pool. Welcome to the PUBG Players Tour. You know the game. Be a player.
Welcome in everyone, it is the final day of the penultimate PUBG Players Cup here with Chunks and Gibson to bring you through all the action. Chunks, 4 maps going in tonight. We're going to find out who the next 4 teams to join. The 8 already qualified to the PUBG Players Tour Masters LCQs.
Yeah, and right now you got to think Bestia have to be the favourites to take that first place position. They were able to win 3 out of the 4 games yesterday, which I think is a real stark contrast to what we've seen out of them, you know, throughout the Players Tour. They've made roster changes and it seems to really be benefiting them. But I guess we're now starting to get to that point of, is it just a honeymoon period or can they keep this momentum going? We'll only find out tonight, but let's refresh ourselves on how we got here. Players took part in the scrims throughout the week, which you can sign up for by doing !register. We are now in the Players Cup. We're halfway through, so we've got 4 games tonight, and then the top 4 teams this time around are going to qualify through to the next round for an opportunity to play in that EMEA versus Americas Masters, which is going to be a very exciting one.
Going to be good fun, and I know there'll be a lot of regional bragging rights in there as well between which region is the best, the Americas or EMEA, but let's remind ourselves of that leaderboard. Bestia in a wonderful position, 3 wins in a row to close out the day yesterday, aka 30 points for them as they got a bunch of kills over the course of the day, as did, oh my god, 55 and Team Kazito. Like, you look at that left side of the leaderboard, so many teams pushing 20 kills just after 4 maps.
Yeah, really, really impressive. And we need to remember as well, that little gold mark next to 55 Esports, that's because they've already qualified through. So at the moment, it goes all the way down to 5th place for qualification.
And that 5th place spot's fun to keep an eye on. But Chunks, look at the teams that have already qualified. You've got Fury of Falcons, Liquid, Al-Qudsi, 55, Toyo Rock, and Mission Ready International Alliance. It's pretty much a who's who of the tier 1 teams in the Americas, right? Have we lost, Chunks?
Sorry about that, Gibson. My headphones died at the most unfortunate time possible. I sent you a message and I said, hold on, just Phil for a second. I've got to swap my headphone batteries. Look, let's go through the prize pool. I didn't hear what you said, but right now, Bestia are going to be the favourites to take that $400. But every team that qualifies through to the next round is going to be getting a share of that prize pool tonight. So really exciting for all those teams taking part.
Yeah, it is. I was wondering what happened. I didn't see the message from you because it was in a different channel. But yeah, now that we know you're back and you're alive, I did fill it in, and I wasn't talking to myself. Everyone, I promise. Chunks is actually here, as you can see right now. But Chunks, basically the question that I asked you before I handed over was the qualified teams for the LCQs, except for Bestia, who are not there yet, is basically a who's who of the top teams in the Americas.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is the beauty of the Players Tour, isn't it? If you're able to perform consistently throughout the year, you're able to guarantee yourself that qualification spot. But for the teams that haven't made it yet, even if you are in the top 4, nothing is guaranteed. Things are looking really close right now. And 4 games played, 4 games to go. There's still a lot of room for movement. When we have that cutoff being around that 20 to 25 point mark at the moment, that is one strong win. So all it takes is one team to perform really well, and they're going to be able to leapfrog so many other squads. Potentially it will come down to the last game tonight, which would not be the first time we've seen it here in the Players Tour.
Well, that's it. The average win is between 17 and 20 points. So 17 to 20 points will rocket fuel a lot of these teams up the leaderboard. And I think Bestia, they'll just be looking to carry on the momentum. Like yesterday, we saw poor performances from teams that we don't expect it from. Like, it's probably the worst that we've seen Mira play over the course of the whole year. I think that even the likes of, I want to say 55 at times. I know it's a new roster. Yes, they're in a good spot right now, but it was very hit and miss for them. And then other teams that I just didn't see having big games popped up, like OMG had a brilliant day. Team K0 had some huge moments over the course of the day. But Chunks, it is time to jump into the first Miramar of the day.
It certainly is, and will it be Miramar again? Because they tried to get aggressive early yesterday on Miramar, which is something that we have seen them do historically throughout the Players Tour. But yesterday was probably the first time it didn't work out, where they took a fight in Phase 1 and actually ended up losing 3 players. Now, I believe whoever was left up managed to get like 1 blue chip, but he wasn't able to recall it in the end. So it'll be interesting to see how things shift up. Obviously, completely different playing path, so you'd imagine it's going to be a fairly different zone. Yesterday, we were down by Los Leones.
Well, you think about it, right? Mira, if I'm not wrong, dropped inside of El Pozo, and basically what ended up happening was, I think it was Mog at the time, they wanted to rotate down this road. And Mira had set up a trap around here to hold them off. And basically Mog held their own. They were able to dominate Mira, pick up all the kills, and I think just one player was... Yeah, they mogged them. I think Vic was just the last player standing, and he was on a bit of a... what's the word? A bit of a salvage game for the team from that point on. But... different story this time around. Looks like Mira will hit the ground first. Mog will have no reason to rotate down that western side of the map based on the circle that we have just been given. As on picture-in-picture, Mime is trying to give us something to shout about with that ace from range.
Yeah, why not go for the shots early on? If he was able to grab a 4x there, it probably would have been a very different story. But the iron sights at that kind of range, they can't do all too much. I will say, one thing about Mog specifically is they've taken Power Grid right now. Now, that has been a drop that throughout the Players Tour has consistently been contested. But at the moment, there aren't any of those teams contesting in the lobby. So sure, it's going to work out well for now. But if they are able to qualify, I do wonder how things are going to change going into that next round when we do have those partner teams involved, and I think it's LG that tend to drop over at Power Grid, whether we will see a hot drop for that location.
I'd say, well, here's the thing, whenever it's a 6-map night, you've always got the chance of those hot drops, considering the fact that if you lose the first one, there's always a second game. But on a 4-map rotation, which is like tonight, those hot drops are even more of a risk, because it's one of your 25% chances of getting points on the night. It's the only time you're going to go to every single map. So, I think on these nights, it is avoided all possible. But if I'm not wrong, Masters LCQ is going to be a best of 6. So, if they want to, they might be tempted to. But I don't know if I want to drop a hot drop a team like Mission Ready International Alliance.
Yeah, completely fair. And one thing I will say, though, is go back to Tago. You know, for a couple of weeks, we were seeing hot drops consistently. I think it was Alcudia and 55. No, it wasn't actually. 55 and somebody else were consistently dropping at the same location, and it was really like a coin toss of who was actually going to win. And then as soon as teams start to clock onto that, they start getting involved with third parties. So it'll be interesting to see whether we get hot drops like that, as 55 actually, with that split over towards San Martin, and now rotating towards this Power Grid area, so they're potentially going to try and land some shots over onto Mog. Psycho's had the info called out, but he's not been able to spot Varus out just yet.
Yeah, he knows he's pushing closer and closer to Varus here from Moguls and Axion, and the vehicle coming in is going to be even more of a signal. Now, you will get one opportunity to take shots here, Psycho, but with the Beryl and Scar combination, it's not really what he does land 20 damage off into this one. It's another one of those gunfights where if he had a DMR of any way, shape, or form, it might have been a different result in the back of that one. But Moguls, they'll rotate on in. They'll move south now from Power Grid, heading in towards Picado, which, by the way, the Picado team has long since vacated that spot, which is what all good teams do. You don't drop in Picado to stay there. You drop there to loot as quick as possible and just get out of there. Like, I think for new viewers, Chunks, or people who always wonder, it's really important to tell people the reason why Picado and Pachinki are so valuable is not because they're big cities. It's not because they're abundant with loot and you can get whatever you want. It's because you can get the bare minimum and be in any single circle within 3 or 4 minutes.
I think it's finding that balance as well, isn't it? Picado, Pachinki, they do have really high tier loot as well, so you can get fully equipped if you do want to spend that extra 30 seconds to a minute to get involved. And Dots, they're going to get involved right now with that squad up above them. Zico's very close, but he's going to be able to hop into the vehicle and move away. Shando providing a little bit of cover in fire, but I can imagine these teams are going to be causing problems for each other going forward, regardless of where this circle goes, because as long as both teams are in it, they're just going to be peppering each other with shots. Baddy's actually making a bit of a rotation. I do wonder whether that's going to be for the drop or whether he just wants to split up from his team a little.
Yeah, Sonic's here from Mula, just peeking up over the ridge line. He's got the information on Dots, who are rotating past. Dots, of course, not the best day for them yesterday. Let's call a spade a spade. They had good opportunities to get points. I think on Miramar, they got into the top 4. They had a couple of smart rotates, but they got kicked out basically because of the circle. But another team I do want to talk about, Chunks, is the team that dropped way over in the southeast in Puerto. It's Fate. I think Fate pleasantly surprised me. They picked up points in every single day. A couple of the players had said they'd not been in action a lot this year. If that's them rusty and not been in action for a year, I'm impressed.
Yeah, I think I saw Firefighter, it was in chat, who basically said, yeah, I barely played third person in a long time, so thought I'd just give it a go, and they had a decent enough performance. Valiate tried to land some shots with the Vexor onto the DG player, but wasn't able to connect. Probably needs to grab a secondary, because he used that slot for his mortar. As Mime might have second thoughts about this when the shots come out from Dunks Gaming, but they aren't able to connect.
Yeah, Coyote just peeking over towards Mime, and well, if anybody knows Mime, he's not one to back off a fight, and here is Team Mira. Upping the aggression, LFP riding shotgun and hits him with a DMR. That'll be a point on the board for Mira as their Miramar day starts off a little bit better. Now, the journey is not over just yet. Bunico from Jumentos is not too far away. He's caught in the middle. Haven's got a line of sight on him. LFP is riding shotgun once more, and Fixin will get that knock. Now, another member from Jumentos, MK Pesadeo. The Bronco is missing tires. It is on the move, but his seconds, his moments, his game is numbered. He's going to get picked up, and that's 3 kills for Mira in the early stages.
Yeah, this is what I was mentioning yesterday when I spoke about Mira getting so aggressive in Phase 1 on Miramar. This is what we're used to seeing from them, and DeCarlos is so far away. I don't think he's going to stand a chance of getting any chips anytime soon, especially since Mira are going to be able to grab them, then make their rotation. If they're able to find a vehicle on the way, they may just opt to blow it up and deny that recall. But at least for the time being, Mira, they were a bit low on ammo. They should have more than enough to see them through the game now, and they're going to be in a really good position getting 3 kill points early on.
Mimic here, they're looking to get a good day going today. Not the best in the world for them yesterday, as they're desperately looking some points, but as we were saying, we hope they can live up to their name and live up to what the Mimic is in another very popular title, and mimic the performance that Bestia were able to put in yesterday and get some points on the board. OMG, of course, inside Los Leones. F-ting in the stack that I like to call right now, camper stack. The reason I call it camper stack is because you can park up in this position, you can keep your vehicle safe, but you can see almost everything all the way down to Chumacera. Like, you can't see Chumacera, but you can see pretty damn close. It gives you wonderful information on anybody coming in from that western side.
They have lost a tyre. shouldn't be the end of the world for them, but it will make those rotates a little bit more difficult, especially when bouncing over the hills of Miramar. It's easy to spin out, and you don't want to do that in front of a full squad, especially when under pressure. But right now, I think most teams are pretty settled with their Phase 1 position. We'll see how things change going forward. If you guys pull up the map stream with !map in chat, you will be able to see that Mirror are actually making a rotation up towards Power Grid. I don't think they were expecting 55 Esports to stay up on this hillside for such a long time. So it'd be interesting to see whether Mirror decide to go and try and take the same position, and we could see 2 or top squads fighting early.
Sorry there, Chunks. I was doing exactly what you told me, and I was pulling up the map stream for all the viewers at home. Remember, you can do the same, as Haven will line up the long-range shots with that MK12. A couple of tags landed as Mira want to get more... Chunks, this is class. This is Team Mira going at it the way we expect them to. 3 kills on the board, looking for more as they peak towards 55. They've got a really good position to approach the circle here from that northwest and just play their game. Like, this is a team that thrive on playing aggressive, playing from the edge. This is exactly what they're being allowed to do. I actually think this is a really good spot here for them. And that shift, put it this way, some people say, oh my god, Mira have a rough rotate into the zone now. If Mira are playing aggressive, Chunks, this just means, oh, look at all the points Mira could potentially get as they move towards the circle.
Honestly, if I'm Mirror right now, I take that western rotation. I play the top side of Chumacera where you have the high ground. You have really good angles looking down and looking at what's ahead of you. You have good cover around there. You've got hard cover. Basically, where that recall beacon is where they're going to want to try and aim for. That is unless they do go with that Mirror play and get ultra aggressive early, but it's dots that show a bit of aggression over onto Bestia as DraftKings find a lot of damage onto Batty.
Yeah, that's going to force them into cover, and now Mime and the rest of Bestia are thinking about going for another strafe at least, but shots coming in from OMG. It's going to change their mind. Mime will take the low ground to give himself a little bit of cover from the rest of OMG as Bestia will continue sending it up now towards Mula, who ain't too far away. More gunshots fired, but Chunks, Bestia still on the prowl.
They certainly are, but 3 players inside of 1 vehicle, especially with the squad so close to them, they're able to line up their shots, get a lot of damage onto it. It could cause Bestia to be out in no man's land. They continue sending it down to the south, and Muller Systematica have now been able to spot them out, and they are just committing over to a shack. I'd assume that Vinny is going to try and make a move, but he's just lost a tire. Bestia really not in the best position, but mine might be, as he sees the vehicle, he hears the player just waiting to land the Panzer shot as soon as a player opens themselves up to him. Now is the time for Batty to try and breach, but he is not giving anything away.
How has this happened then? The rest of Mime, or the rest of Bestia, sorry, have moved all the way inside the circle. Mime pulled off on the edge to play this position, and he is getting hunted down by dots. They're stacking up, and this could be dangerous. Now, the tossing of that smoke and the cracking of the window will reveal his position, Chunks, and he's going to toss another smoke the other way. Is he just going to get out of dodge? Is this going to be a Mime? Oh no, they know he's here. Panzer ready, Panzer aimed, Panzer fired, but he's too close to the wall.
I mean, mine was able to take down 2 players with that. It's just unfortunate that one of them was him. Valier able to trade out on 9mm Warlord is the only way I can describe him right now. Valier has been more than happy to accommodate for the DMR nerfs. He was staying kind of 2 steps ahead, going with the VSS, going with the Vector, having a really strong performance and showing just how dangerous those SMGs can be at close range. Dots, though, they will be back up to a 4. Valier with a kill point on the board, and they really don't have a bad position looking at this zone. Sure, they might struggle if it pulls down to the southeast again, but ultimately, if this goes to the north, they're going to be in a really good position to consolidate and hold out other teams.
Yeah, I'm looking at Mime, sorry, Mimic, I should say. I just saw the MIM, and they're getting too close to Mira for, I think, their own liking, as Haven will push on in, and I would do the same. If I hear a car coming and I'm split from the rest of the team, I would just rock on up on that Smoking Aces compound that they're holding that gives you so much value. You keep the vehicle inside the garage. You got nice angles to look elsewhere. Haven not going to elect to take those shots just yet, hoping that they might be able to find a knock a little bit later. Chunks, it's zone shift time, and it's pretty much what I expected. Not going to Los Leones, and that position Mimic just took, and Bestia are just leaving that shack as well.
Yeah, dots, they're going to be a little bit split, but they already have a compound inside the circle. It's a bit of a shame there for them because that church up at the top of Tumasera is just so powerful. It's now been cut out, but Mira, they're going to be happy that they sent Haven so aggressively. It's not something that I think many teams would have done, but it shows the level of confidence that Mira have to play so split, and it's got them an entry into the zone now. They need to be careful of Mog over on the west, but for the time being, we'll hop on board with 55 as they start to get lit up by OMG, who are now focused on Tung Tung Sahur.
Yeah, Tung Tung Sahur will take the high ground as they move just to the west of Los Leones, and I don't think OMG are going to get an angle on this one. It's just a rotate game for them as a lot of the circle towards the south is completely vacant, and that comes from the flight path, the drop spots that we've had. It's giving all these teams a lot of nice positions to move into, Chunks, and if I was the likes of Tung Tung Sahur, if you follow this dirt path all the way down, I was going to say you get some good news, but instead you've rocked up on the shack that Bestia were playing, and Bestia were like, how dare you try to backfill us, we'll get a knock.
That's if you even make it to the shack. They ended up running straight into the rock. Sonic's able to find the headshot over onto Mimi as Loki throws down a little bit more smoke cover to try and get the revive. But that vehicle is close to blowing. The emergency cover is so far away. And Dots, well, they are getting up close and personal with LFP from Mira. He will make his escape without being caught out. But it's actually going to be Flood who takes the damage onto Tung Tung Sahur. On the other side of things, Zevo opens up onto GMO as for nothing now forced into an engagement.
Hello? Hello? Are you no audio whatsoever as like it's Rolly will sneak up onto Infinite. Sweezy driving on by as that Bronco will off-road as only it can. That kill is going to get confirmed, but this is all happening in the blue by phase 3. Gmu is down as well, one of the stronger players on this FN, this for nothing side. But elsewhere, Chunks, we got 55 up close and personal with OMG.
Yeah, I'm not sure what 55 decided to do earlier. They actually called in an EP and then they sent like a player up, then jumped down. I think that might have just been for scouting purposes, but they clearly weren't able to spot out this squad up ahead of them. Psycho tries to take the shots on towards Takamura, but the flashbang looks close, not close enough to stop RNZ being able to find the kill, but he's quickly spotted out by Tony as potentially dangerous. Start to third party onto this one. Nightavon also getting aggressive onto this, but it's Tony who picks up his second knock of the fight, looking for a third as he got a glimpse of Psycho just before he went behind the bridge.
Yeah, this South American showdown here on the north side of the circles, just getting more and more teams and players invited as the members of Dunks pushed in as well. Jan's got a flush onto Oranzero, but Tony traded it back. Now F-Ting is going to spray towards Gabri. It's potentially dangerous, don't want to give up too much ground. 55 will try to bug out from this position as Psycho hops on the move and shots coming in from afar might not help them out, but Chunks Karak is going to get stuck in the open, but just as he does, F-Ting peeks over and PD will hold them back. The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah, OMG just weren't able to peek onto it. They were under too much pressure, and Karak now has been able to make the escape. Satum has been caught out by that Dunks gaming player, so will be getting taken down. Leaves only F-Ting left up for the team. Mimi has the C4 on the vehicle. Final player standing for Tung Tung Sahur, and just bailing on it. Not sure exactly what the play is there, but he has been able to spot out that Jumentus player. The nade will land close, and it's the shots that finish off the job. So Jumentus losing that player immediately after getting them recalled as Mimi looks up over towards Flood from Bestia now.
Did somebody promise free candy or something in that shack? Because that's the third team now that have gone there and decided that they don't want enough. And I think that Tung Tung Sahura with just Mimics left to play, well, Mimics will get rid of Brandy's. That's another member from Jumentus down. Up back on top of the hill. We've still got Dunks pushing up onto F-Ting. The last player standing for OMG, who were a bit of a surprise package yesterday, will flee back to the compound. But for how much longer can we expect him to survive? The only real thing that he's hoping is that potentially Dangerous will continue this fight with Dunks, but Dunks are fully locked in on finding F-Ting.
Isavon looking out for that final player, but he just can't see it. The ridge providing safety. The first team has fallen. It's Sweezy from 4-0 who goes down to Gladiator as Shanado lines up the nade over towards Team Mirror, but there are 2 Panzers headed directly for him, and he is not long for this world. Fana able to get the knock as LFP flushes it out with the grenade. Bestia, they are just putting in work, by the way, taking fights onto multiple teams right now, and they will be able to find the kill onto 55 Esports as Sonic's confirming cracks.
Well, at this point in time, Bestia are essentially I was going to say the 4 points of a compass, but there is only 3 of them, as one looks north, one looks south, one looks east. F-Ting, he's going to spray down one, he's going to spray another, but ammo's going to become a problem in a second time. He's going to have to pop a reload, and Yaz gets that nice angle through the window, and just in time, because here come PD. They're looking in towards Falcon. He's inside the building. Jans, though, sprinting up the mountain just to the side of Tony. You don't want to make too much noise. You don't want to give away your position and give Dunks an opportunity to leave the spot. A BZ8 and a puncture of a tire, though, will slow down Dunks if they do eventually leave this position, even if they do win the battle.
PD can reposition, focus on holding them out rather than engaging onto this compound, but they do need to be careful because Yance is laying down prone and he's now got the read, lands the spray, takes down Nightavon as the rest of PD look to move into this position further to the west. They do have to push through Dunk's gaming to get into the circle from this point, and they need to do it quickly because Team Casito are probably looking in this direction, thinking about their next move.
Yeah, it looks like while all that was going on earlier on, Juventus did get players back on the recall system, but they're all struggling on the edge of the circle as things stand. Coyote trying to get an off angle here as the rest of them try to lock down the 3 standing members here of potentially dangerous. Glock will toss that molly. He has the advantage in this battle, but as you can see, it is nothing but fog in front of him. Taylor will eventually wipe out Juventus as PD are back up to a 4. But you cannot forget about Jans here. Jans knows exactly where you are, Glock, but I see a Panzer here, and that could be a problem. But Glock is a bigger one. He gets a knock.
Nicely done from Glock to finish off the job. 3 kills now on the board here for potentially dangerous as Tung Sahur will be eliminated out in 11th. PD, they're opting to disengage from this fight. They're now looking down towards Team Casito. There's a Panzer, there's vehicles, and there's players in a dip. That could only mean one thing, and that's that Tony is about to fire. Lands the shots onto one, finds a second, looks for a third, not a problem. Only 1 player left up for Team Casito right now. It's Axmeyer behind the rock, hoping for cover, but the BZ nade lands, and that could be the end of Glock. Not before Team Casito fall down in ninths. We make it into the top 8. And PD, they should be able to get the revive onto this player.
That was just clinical there as they pushed on in. Now, KPN, Cap'n, will toss a brilliant Kobe nade up over the ridgeline. That'll catch Valiant, and a second one. He's going for the 2-pointer. Will be thrown on over, and it lands just a little short. But looks like Barry body blocked some of that damage towards Valiant there. Another nade toss, but the Bronco providing some cover. But I think Valiant, is he going to make it? He's got to stop crawling. He better not get out of Barry's healing hands range. But I think Dots will just get another player back up on his feet. And you called it. Gabri is no longer for the world. He goes down, and AKA Gladiator will get dropped as well by the Blue Zone as we have 7 teams left alive.
Potentially dangerous. They continue to get aggressive, but heading straight towards Team Mirror. Bestia down to the south and Fate off to the southeast as it's Tater who opens things up over onto Tony. Lost, limited on ammo, but making it work with the M16, finding yet another .4 on the board now for them as Fate start to get involved. They've only got 2 players left up, but with PD getting third party, they might just be able to finish this one off. They need to do it quickly because Bestia are about to crest over the ridge. They're going to spot out Tater and they're going to find the knock.
And it's another one, another knock. Tater's going to fall at the hands of Vinny as he picks up another kill for himself. Fate just finding themselves in a bit of a rough twist of fate here. Moving into the wrong section of the circle. This bowl is completely surrounded by Bestia, and with PD not interested in third partying or peeking towards Bestia just yet, it means that Fate have to fully focus on this fight. Looking elsewhere, though, over on the other side, Team Mira locking in on Zyko's position here for Dots. That Groza, 60 rounds of 7.62 left in the back pocket of Fana, The Groza with that high rate of fire will quickly eat up a lot of them. And there's 34 left alive when he picks up the knock onto Zyko.
Didn't even have to waste extra ammo on the flush, because that's limited now for Team Mirror. Double, triple BZ is that? Over on towards Fate. Verpal is going to try and hit the heel, but surely that's the end of him. 2 kills on the board for DraftKings in that fight. That takes it to 9 now for Bestia. Just continuing that momentum from yesterday. They still have to deal with the final 2 players from Potentially Dangerous who are fortified in this dip, but even with those shields, you are so vulnerable to a BZ nade, to a bit of util, and that's what Bestia have to use to come out on top of this fight without risking losing any players.
The only positive is if you're one of the teams that's on the cusp, or you're not necessarily in the top 4 just yet, seeing Bestia get all these kills, seeing the likes of Potentially Dangerous farming is good news. These are teams that are pretty much nearly safe and secure, or you'd expect so with the players they have and where they are in the leaderboard. So if they take the majority, the lion's share of the points, it means that cutoff spot gets even lower. It means that the bad games do not hurt as much as they possibly could. Mira, speaking of a team who cannot afford to have a bad day, Haven is just going to drop it in the basket. Lost is dealt with, and that's a big loss there for Mula, because you have to imagine with the position they had, they were feeling pretty good.
You got to think Mirror now are feeling pretty good with this position. Sure, they still have to get over to the next ridge to be able to take the fight over on towards Mula, but at least for the time being, I mean, there's no threat of that revive coming through. I think the reason Mirror are taking so many shots down in this direction, by the way, is because they don't have the full read onto those Mula players, and that player hasn't bled yet, so they're probably thinking, hey, has he been revived? Have we not realised this yet? But they will be good for the time being. They just need to keep an eye out on the cross, as Bestia keep their eyes on the prize. 9 kill points on the board, now starting to focus more central to the circle, but they cannot forget about Potentially Dangerous, and you can't forget about the C4 that I just saw in the hands of one of those players. They may decide to send this in over the hill.
Yeah, and I want to point out as well that we got a 9mm alert. Valley rocking both the Vector, and he's got himself a VSS in the back pocket. He has got the terrible Vs at the ready as he looks to make it work. Valley from the edge of the circle has been a menace over the course of the PUBG Players Tour already. But Bestia, you'd imagine this is just going for PD. It's going straight for that position. You've smoked it out. You send the line. PD, I'm going to give you a salute. It was a...
No!
Uh-oh. What? What? DraftKings gets a knock on the Fana, but you can't park there, bro, as the C4 goes off.
Oh, they hit the handbrake on the way out of the vehicle, and it all falls apart in terms of that sense. Now Bestia, yeah, they get the kill onto Fana, but they need to try and now take the fight on towards PD without getting third party, which in a position like this is a lot easier said than done. There are some situations where sometimes you just have to sacrifice that extra player to be able to get those kills, and it seems like in this scenario, Bestia opting to play it safe, and it doesn't work out for them.
Yeah, it looks like Sonics is sprinting over to get that res onto Cap'n, and that being the case, it will be pulled off. I don't think the Valiant is close enough just yet as we turn our attention back to Mira, who are looking to hold off the fight on the other side. Coyote did find himself getting knocked at the hands of Zig out in the open, and Zig should be able to put a good timer on him. Valley confirms the kill. The VSS in the mist. The Gilly from the glue will be finding another point on the board for Dotson. They have no clue. Mula have no clue where Valley it is based on the VSS's lack of noise. Those subsonic rounds coming in clutch.
This is what Valiant does, isn't it? He lays low, keeps quiet, and then strikes when he has the opportunity. He's been playing slow for this game after his team went down fairly early on. He's putting in work. BZ Nate does come through from Team Mirror, but Valiant there to quickly find Haven in return. Mirror looking significantly weakened now, down to just 2 players, as Glock will be getting third party. Valiant eventually does fall to Sonics, but PD are getting torn apart. It looked like Bestia had the opportunity to push, but it just wasn't able to come through quick enough.
There'll be no back-to-back for Bestia, but they still managed to get a Warriors cut of the points in this game. Lots of kills on the board for them, but Mira, with 2 players left alive, are hoping to live up to their name. They want to be Mira Mar once more, but they've got Mula to contend with. 6 kills for them. 3 players alive. The utility game's not necessarily the worst in the world, but all the players in and around that 75 HP mark at this point in time. My worry, Chunks, is with this circle, where do you play? Like, there's one shack inside the circle where Mira are playing. You've got Mula up on the high ground. Everything else is essentially no man's land.
Yeah, I think the only thing you can play, in all honesty, is Muller's position, because they have such a central position on this hillside. They've got 3 players up. Like, if they had 4, you'd say, yeah, this game is theirs, because if you have 4 players, you can cover all angles, basically prevent anyone from being able to cross into the zone. Now, with 3 players, it will be a little bit more difficult, but at the end of the day, it's a 3v2v2. They should have the numbers about advantage, as long as they're keeping those heads on a swivel, using that third person, checking every ridge, and doing so quickly. You can't just focus in on one ridge for 10 seconds, because that then gives your opponent the opportunity to push, and we all know that as soon as you look away from something is when your opponent will push, because that is just how PUBG works.
The only problem that Mula have right now is the fact that these 2 teams are on opposite sides of the circle to them. Like, down the minimap, if Mira push this way and PD push this way, they find themselves in a sandwich. But I feel like the terrain just doesn't allow that to happen safely. If one of these 2 teams manage to find a knock onto Mula, then it's dangerous. Then there's a problem. Mira, I think they're just going to elect to get closer and closer to that shack, because it does give them a form of cover in this game. And while all that's going on, it's just really important that Mula don't get too fixated on PD.
Oh, but Mira are fixated on the util right now. You saw them just picking up all of those nades, and that is kind of the advantage that you can get in PUBG sometimes. When you're fighting up a hill, it can be so difficult. If you get a couple of smokes down, one well-placed nade can do all the difference over those ridgelines, especially in third person, where players aren't as inclined to expose themselves for the peak. They will play a little bit slower as Zig starts to pick up the pace. Glock pushes in, but Zig found the damage. It's LFP in the end who gets the knock, and Tony's there to trade it. This is Mira's opportunity to try and capitalize right now. A player's gone down, and second one is sticking the res. Mira are immediately looking to start moving. Smokes are coming through. Shots are found from KPN to keep the heads down, but Fakes in, just using the vehicle, wrapping round wide. Sonics needs to land this spray to keep them in it. Zig has been able to heal, but right now it's all about the nades from LFP, and Sonics is down low with no ammo in reserve.
Oh, this is the play. Fixin, he's got a nade thrown up there. LFP will find that knock on the Sonics, but it's all down to LFP now. Groza in his hand. Zig is low. The 2 players from Mula are in a bad spot. LFP sprays on over. He gets the kill, but he's shot from the back. Kappen will win it for Mula in the end, but that's more like it from Mira. That's what we expect. Well, big congratulations. A first win on the night for Mula Systematica. They'll get 19 points. Remember what we said, Chunks? That cutoff was not very high at all, and those 19 points will thrust Mula Systematica right into the mix.
Yep, that is the beauty of these short format events, isn't it? Everyone has the opportunity to get that one big win. Now they just need a consistent evening, and they're going to be looking in a really good spot to qualify, especially when you have a team like Bestia who were able to sponge up so many points. And speaking of Bestia, we do need to talk about that Panzer from mine. I suspect that what happened there was it wasn't even necessarily the damage from the Panzer itself, like the explosive. I think it was the wall behind him. I think he was just too close to it and didn't realize, and that's what took him out there.
Yeah, it was the flash, it was the splashback effect that you got. It was the exact same thing that happened yesterday with was it potentially dangerous inside the car who panzered, and the panzer backfly got the player in the passenger seat. Like, it's the risk that you're going to run, and unfortunately for Mime, had he been 3 feet to the left, he would have been fine for a few seconds, because he was going to die in that fight against Dots with the amount of players that they threw at it. There's the final kill of the game, as Kappen did manage to get the off angle. The body block up on the hill, the distraction from the down teammates allowed him to flank down low, and Mira only pick up 14 points. 19 for Mula, 12 for Bestia as they continue to increase their lead at the top. But I'm more interested in the overall leaderboard, Chunks, because I want to see where Mula have put themselves.
Yeah, obviously a really strong performance from that game, and that has moved them up pretty far, but not quite as far as we would have expected. They're currently in 10th position, but just look at the gap. They need 5 more points, and they move all the way up to 5th right now. If they have another 10-point game, that qualifies them, so that is their target right now. They need to be able to repeat that performance, because yes, the gap to 5th is not huge, but the top 4 have been so dominant, it's going to be really difficult to break in if you're still down at the bottom end. You need at least one more strong performance, and that's not even taking into account the points that they're going to get in our final 3 games this evening.
Exactly. It's not just as simple as that 20-point gap. You have to remember those teams above will also be garnering points as well and increasing that gap. But we are going to throw it to a very quick break. When we come back, we'll be back with Tego. Don't go anywhere.
Chicken. New boss. Captain Crispy.
Still alive. Just eviscerate the team just like that. They have taken the game.
Welcome to the PUBG Players Tour. This year, we're introducing structured competitive play in third-person perspective mode for players of all ranks, levels, and ability. Here's how it works in EMEA and Americas. PUBG Players Tour competition is held in 2-week phases. Each week, you and your squad can compete in player scrims. Think of these as a great alternative to ranked play. Each day of scrims will feature a variety of maps, with defined team and lobby sizes to ensure a balanced best-of-3 rounds. Teams will earn points based on their performance, and daily leaderboards will track their progress. When the scrims are over, the top teams will qualify for the PUBG Players Tour Cups, where they will be joined by up to 10 invited teams, featuring some of the best players in the region. Players Cup leaderboards will track team performances across 2 days of play, with the top 8 squads progressing to the final round of competition. Players Masters are the pinnacle of the PUBG Players Tournament. 8 teams from each of the 2 cups will engage in fierce competition for a huge prize pool in each region across the PUBG Players Tour season. And for times when a Players Masters isn't scheduled, you can still get your PUBG Players Tour fix with Super Cups. These work just like Masters events, where again, 16 teams, 8 from each of the 2 previous Players Cups, compete for a share of the total cash prize pool. Welcome to the PUBG Players Tour. You know the game. Be a player.
It's Tego time as we hop into game number 2 of the evening. We are heading over to Tego, and opportunities for teams to qualify are becoming more and more limited. I do just want to give you all a reminder that you can get involved in the Players Tour by doing !register. Just get yourself a team together, take part in those players scrims, because next week is going to be your last opportunity to qualify for that final Masters event of the year.
Yeah, and it might not be a better opportunity than now, with a lot of the teams already qualified will not be in those scrims, so get yourself in, get those points. With PIS on this weekend, and with a lot of the teams hoping to get through tonight, you may not get a better chance like the present, where you and 3 of your friends, or, you know, they don't have to be friends, just people you like playing with who are good at the game, could get a chance to play against some of the best teams in America for a chance to get not only a bit of the little prize pool, but a chance to qualify for those America's LCQs, where you will go head-to-head with the best teams in America. You ever wonder how you could do against the likes of Falcons? Well, this is your chance. Chunks, here's the question about things that you're going to do, though. What are you going to do about a circle like that?
Get an EP. Get an EP, get down south early on, because these are the Players Tour circles. And last time I saw a circle like this in the Players Tour, we ended up in Songnam, which is not where you would expect. You think, oh, there's so much water, it's bound to shift up to the north. Nope, not in the Players Tour. Never say never. So if you're a team that's up in Shipyard right now, yeah, start considering using an EP. But what I will say is the playing path was so far down to the southeast. I think a lot of these teams are going to be aware that there shouldn't be anyone really camping the rotation if they decide to take that North Island and rotate over the west.
The only positive is, when you think about Tego now and old Tego, remember how much worse this circle would have been, say, a few months ago, when it wasn't just water at the bottom, it was unplayable terrain that was instant death if you walked in it, or if you tried to cross. So
yeah, better circle.
It's
I don't know what you're talking about, Gibson. We have very different opinions on and I think it's because we're not playing. You know, we have very different opinions on what makes a good circle. For me, the more inconvenient it is for teams, the better, because that's what you want to test. You know, PUBG is not about testing things when, oh, we have this rotation, we can do this. It's like, oh, we have no options, we have to make a play. What's our best option here to move forward?
You're just looking at this from an entertainment value standpoint. Like, as a caster, how much chaos can I get? Whereas I'm being sympathetic to our players here. Like, come on. These are players trying to qualify for LCQs. Don't give them horrible things like that. The circle's horrible enough as it is, without it being worse with the older version of Tego. Now, the only thing I will say, and getting to the point of the circle, is there are lots of places, even though this is essentially a phase 2.5 circle with the amount of water that we have, there is so many compounds, there's so many rocks, that you don't need to be necessarily a crazy panic to get into the zone. But
no, but I will say...
Yeah.
Sorry, I will say quickly, we've already got 2 EPs in play.
Yeah.
So I think teams are starting to panic with this circle.
Yeah, well, what I was going to say is there are positions that are a lot stronger than others that teams are going to want to get. Like, you think about that compound, or that little compound just south of where Bestia dropped and by Hosan. You know, that's a great little crossroads compound. I think AKA, they're pretty good inside school. They don't really need to do anything at all. I'm looking at Juventus and I'm going, I don't want to spend any more time in Hosan prison. Like, this is... It would be incredibly low percentile circle for it to go there. So move a little bit further south into the peninsula. Get something up on that hill, something up on that compound. Like, even look at Infinite. Infinite has secured a little bit of a compound for himself and his team. The problem is, his team are rotating directly behind Mog on the way in here, and they could reach trouble before they even get to this spot.
Yeah, this could be rough for them. He needs to make some noise, make sure that teams know that the position is taken. Just try and prevent them even attempting to challenge. Take a lot of shots, you know, not necessarily with your AR. Take some shots with your DMR. Make it sound like you kind of posted up in position. You're not getting crashed, because if you take too many AR shots, a team's going to think you're getting crashed. They're probably going to third party. I do want to point out quickly as well, as we spectated Dots as they got into that EP, Valiant didn't even attempt to get over to it. So my only guess right now is he's going for a glide glider, which I think could be a real benefit to them, especially when you're using that EP and vehicles are limited. That coverage that you get from the glider, the info that you're able to gather, can actually be really, really useful, especially in a circle like this.
Yeah, you're 100% right. Like, get up onto the high ground, scout out positions, and, you know, worst case scenario, just keep yourself out of trouble in the sky for a while. I think that, you know what's interesting? I'm looking at the mini-map feed. Remember, if you're at home want to see the map as well, !map in chat. Varas will... He doesn't really need to look at the map too much. He's too busy looking down the reticle. Oh my god, Kerak, what are you doing, you madman? A quick double for Kerak as he hops. So yeah, he is, but here's Varas as he steps up into the open. Varas, though, is going to look to completely repeat the feat. He takes the high ground, but it's Oranzero this time.
Oh, RNZ, though, with the nade. That should be enough to connect onto Zevo, but it's just a little bit far, and Zevo pops out, finds the headshot. And that's 55 Esports going down early, but look at this. Jumentus Dabala already getting aggressive onto this position. AKA are off to the east as well. They've heard the dinner bell ring, and they are quickly moving in. That BZ nade not going to be close enough to finish off Zevo, but they were able to confirm a point out of this. Jumentus, not sure what Brandy's doing here, just looking up at the sky, getting his scope dialed in, ready to take those long-range shots. But right now, it's AKA looking over towards Marg and Danshin. He's posted up. One shot onto that player would have been enough to get the knock, but he just can't find him.
I think he was just making sure that he's not living inside a simulation. You know, make sure it's not an episode of The Truman Show here on the PUBG Players Cup. Zyko here with the VSS. Zyko, you're not going to get a lot of pleasure whenever you've got a car coming that way when you're already out of ammo in that VSS. Dunks Gaming will pick up that kill as Dots will lose 1 point on the board for Dunks. I was about to say, about 3 or 4 minutes ago, how there was so many players on the Southwest Peninsula. And we have lost 11 players in the last few minutes, potentially going to lose more. It has completely cleared up that section of the map.
Bestia, though, they haven't cleared up the whole of Fate. Tater just going to be playing prone inside the bush, using that third person to gather the info for his team because Flanker is so far away. Bestia, yeah, they will spot him in the end. It looked for a second like they didn't know, but they just see his feet poking out the back. Flood will find the flush. I think that leaves only Flanker now left up here for Team Fate.
And you know what that will teach Tater from now on? Don't wear really nice expensive aftershave or cologne. It's too easy. But best just sniff them out inside that bush. You gotta go for the stuff that doesn't give away your position. As now Bestia will move up towards Team Mira. Red Zone is going to arrive on top of Bestia. Let's see, will Bestia get in some trouble as those mortar strikes will come on down from up on high. Those shells hoping to taste what Mira. That was very close to Haven there. That wasn't far at all. But I think with Mira just 2 players here in the split that they have, they're not overly keen to take on this fight and reveal their position.
Quickly on the topic of things landing on teams, Team Casito, they've taken an EP all the way from the north. They stayed on it till the last possible second, and anyone who's looked over at the map will have seen just how many teams are far down to the south, so they are just getting lit up on the drop, just as Haven and LFP light up Mime and follow up with another knock over on towards DraftKings. Vinny tries to return the fire, but unfortunately him and Flood are just too far away to close this distance. It's become less of a fight focused on pick up your teammates, get them back into the fight. Now it's more about defend this compound because Mira are probably going to try and push us.
No BZs for Fixin, so we can't clear the compound from afar. There's going to be relying on information gathering. Drive-by does a little bit more damage on DraftKings, who's desperately crawling back to the compound as smoke covers being deployed. And they might just look to get him in. Now, Flood gets lucky to get away with that one, peeking from the window. Shots not quite landing the way that Faxon would have wanted to as he peeks through that window. But I think DraftKings is going to fall as LFP's need is bang on the money. Faxon still wrapping around. You know there's 2 Bestia players. The only thing is, Chunks, if this was first person, they would have been on this compound in an instant. But because of TPP, because of how much more risky it is for the team in the open to push towards here, it's causing concern for Mira. As the circle, you said the song Am Circle, looks like we might be about to repeat the feat.
You always trust my circle calls, because whatever the most awkward circle is going to be is what the Players Tour gives to us. Mirror, they realise just how awkward this is. They're going to hop in the vehicles, get ready to move away. Or are they? Are they going to pick up this player, or are they just planning on crashing as a team? It looks like they're going to crash in here. They want to go for the kills, but Flood, he's up top, should be able to find the spray. No, finds a little bit of damage, can't finish off the job. Haven there to trade it out. It's all on to Vinny as the final player jumps out the back. He gets caught with a little bit of damage, and a lot more by LFP as Bestia fall in 14th place after a really strong performance yesterday, and even start out today. That's not the game they would have wanted, but should still be able to hold on to first.
Mira looking to mirror Ander a little bit higher up that leaderboard, starting things the right way. We got another E pickup here as OMG will drop out, and they are going to be GONE potentially if Mimic are able to hold the spot, but good shots onto XQN, and this fight has suddenly been turned on its head, and Carpe Diem and Efting will put in some good work. Judd now, the last player standing for Mimic. Is he able to hold the line inside of Songam? That was so well held back from OMG. That was really, really good, and they're going to try to get these reses off as well, and they'll get one. They might even get two before Judd's able to get close enough. I think they're going to be all four back up, actually.
He's got 3 nades in the back pocket, though. If he knows where these players were knocked, which he should do, then he could come very close. But by this point, they've already had the opportunity to get the first aids off, so Judd going to be in a 1 versus 3. Now, there is a recall beacon not too far away in Songam, but as more teams start to make a move in, you got to think it's not looking too likely he's going to be able to get to it. And even before then, he has to pick up those blue chips. OMG getting really lucky off of that one, I have to say it, because they parachuted in completely blind. I don't think they were expecting a player to be in this compound, but somehow managing to survive and exploiting the split that Mimic had pulled out. But Mula Systematica, they're also starting to get involved. They haven't seen the knocked flak, so they are going to be missing out on a point for the time being. They're just looking for this final player from Mimic.
Yeah, out inside the open, but as you said, Lost got nades at the ready. The smoke is the target for him at this point in time, and you know, the thing is, that nade went nowhere near them, but that's a good nade based on what he wanted. He assumed they would be in the smoke, he tossed it there, but OMG are already on the move elsewhere. OMG, of course, in the hunt for the top. Oh, Coyote. Your position has now been declared. Pesadeo, he is on his way over to pick up his free point onto Coyote, who should be in the open. Brandy's is there as well. But I think for poor Coyote, he's not being so wily this time, as he's going to get caught out and Brandy's gets the knock.
Nade follows up, but it's Carlos who manages to find the flush. Vehicle will blow. Not quite enough time to get the chip in the back of it, but really nice shots coming out from For Nothing up to the northeast. They've got a compound. They've got really good lines of sight, and I think that's why we saw that Juventus player that we first hopped on board with was laying prone, because he was aware that they could get third party from this position. Ultimately, though, Juventus will come out on top of it. They will be able to get the revives. And I should point out, by the way, Valiate has been in the blue since phase 1. I assume that that's going to be him using an EP up on the northeast, but who knows?
Probably as a VSS and a Vector as well, if we're being honest.
Yeah, he wasn't able to find enough 9mm up there.
Yeah, look at Jimu, by the way. FN splitting out from the compound to try to hold out Juventus on the edge of the zone. This is hyper aggressive from them, and they know that their opportunities for points are limited with only this and 2 maps left to go. So I like the aggression for them. I also like PD going for a little dip into the ocean to gather themselves up that level 3 gear, and that drop, that could help them as they look to get a victory in this game of the night. But I want to go back to OMG. They won that battle, Chunks, but I'm so impressed by some of the plays they've been able to make over the course of yesterday and early today. And let's not forget, they have a player who's right up there with the top kills in the whole event. Like, they have been ridiculously good.
Yeah, really, really strong performance from them. Again, a roster that we haven't seen much out of here in the Players Tour. There are a couple names that ring a bell, but in terms of like the whole roster, I don't think we've seen, I think 3 out of their 4 players take part in the Players Tour. Flanker has been able to pick up his blue chips. A Firefighter will be coming back into the fray, but Songam right now is hotly contested. You do have to wonder how much of a difference it's actually going to make, if he's going to be able to loot safely or whether he will just get caught out in mid-air. Songam, yeah, it's going to get hot in here pretty quick.
There's only one place that firefighters are going to go, and that's into the midst of Songam, really. Like, you got to hope your team can hold a building and just say, land on me. We'll drop smokes, we'll drop cover, we'll lay down the covering fire. We'll do whatever we need to do to get you on the deck. Mimic, on the other hand, Judd, will need to do whatever he can do to find some points, and he thinks that having that M249 in the back pocket with all those 160 rounds in the extended mag will be able to gather some success. Elsewhere, just to the north of this, yeah, Tony's got a Grows in the water, by the way, but just to the north of this, FN have collapsed back onto all four because Zinni from AKA had rotated close enough out of school that the audio cue was enough for them to come back.
I do wonder now, when this circle does pop, if this thing pulls up to the east, or even centralizes how many teams commit onto Songam. We've got Mirror up on the northeast of the city. As Verpal, ooh, nearly able to find the knock. Nice headshot placed onto Judd. If that was a Dragonov, that surely would have been the end of things. And yet, Valier is finally coming up on the map stream. He has taken a vehicle. He is rotating him from the north, still up in the blue, just so everyone is aware that dots are still in it, even though there are no players inside the circle for him.
Yeah, he's just hoping the other teams do him a favor. Zavo here from Magules is going to get driven by Danshin. Zinni confirms that one out as AKA elected to move north. Picking up those kills. Now they've got Mula Systematica fresh off the back of a victory in the last map, not too far away. 16 minutes and 40 seconds gone here, Chunks, with 42 players still alive. And we've got a player coming back, so it looks like Jumentus got Bunico back, having lost him a little while ago.
They've got those bodies down on the south that they should be able to loot. I think they might still be out in the blue, though, so I'm not sure whether they're going to be able to get over to that. It looks like he is going to use that EP for a little bit of cover as Valiant does finally fall to Team Mirror. They try and find yet another kill, but not able to connect and finish off the job. Just finding the damage over to those players off to the west. LFP opting to pull back a little bit. Doesn't want to keep himself too exposed, but as Fana opens up onto AKA, Mirror, you got to think it's time for them to start consolidating their position. Yance will go down immediately after being pulled back in, but it's an extra point on the board for Fate, which is much needed from them.
Yeah, that's another point for Fate. They got 2 in the first map, but they are the currently highest placed North American team in this lobby. I think they were in 7th place going into this map. If things go their way, they could be right in the mix for that top 4. And as you pointed out, if a team inside the top 4 have already qualified through to the finals, like PD, that means that the team in 5th will eventually move on over. Lost will stand in a bush as Sweezy. You're not supposed to run over your own teammates, but I guess it's fine when there's nobody nearby to capitalize off the back of that one. But Lost has got to be so careful, Chunks, with Team Mira not too far away.
Yeah, LFP hasn't been able to spot him. I mean, he looked right in that direction, but had no idea. You got to think Lost is arguably safer in this position than trying to move back right now, because as soon as he makes that cross, LFP's going to see him move from the bush. So yeah, just use it for all that you can right now. Use that third-person camera, gather that info, and just hope that LFP isn't able to spot you. But Takamura, he's looking over the way of Pesadelo, but it's Flanker who's able to get himself the knock. Verpal will confirm it. So that's the second kill point on the board for Team Fate, as they have been able to make it back up as a 4-man, and it does look like Firefighter was able to get into the city and provide support for his team.
Yeah, look at this OMG putting in some work as Saitama and Carpe Diem are going to get a knock and flush onto Jumentus. As looks like after all that, Bunico is the last player standing, having come back from the dead. LFP pushing up over the ridge. Now you know exactly where Mula Systematica are. He's going to get himself out of the open, so the drive-by is not going to cause too much of a problem. And now AKA Sweezy's head has been revealed, and well, he's going to hit for a lot of damage. Realizing now that the jig is up, he'll toss the stun and focus on the rest of FN. Infinite steps out from inside the smoke, catches a prone player and gets the knock. MHP found one as well, so AKA with just Zinni and Danshin left alive. Zinni is going for the flank, but Chunks, he's a little bit further away, a little bit disjointed from the rest of the team. He has a lot of work to do here from range, and that's certainly a good way to do it.
Really nice shots coming out from DZ right there as Danchin tries to flank around. I think he got a glimpse of GMO. Yes, he did. So now will decide to move back again. MPX still just holding round, watching out for any of those players peeking, but not being able to spot it just yet. Fakes in actually third party onto this. So DZ is now the final player left up, but he is able to take down MHPXD. Is now the final player for AKA, trying to salvage any point that he can, but I just don't think he has the info on where that final player is going to be. Throws out the smoke to try and get the revive, but it isn't looking too likely as Mira continue to third party.
Yeah, the revive isn't going to happen. Nanu will pick up there, or will find himself falling. That's a point picked up from MHP, so for nothing, have 3 on the board. Zinni trapped behind the tree. The third party from Mira forces him into the waiting arms of Jimu. And will Jimu, one more spray should do it, and he gets it. AKA have been eliminated. 10 teams left alive now as Mira spot out Mula as they rotate on by. Juventus fall inside of Songam. And all those teams, Chunks, that bet the house on Songam are now regretting that decision just a little bit as they need to move out of that city. And that is a horrible position to find yourself in.
So we got 8 teams, and 5 of them are in Songam, something like that. So I would expect us to be into the top 5 very quickly now as this zone starts to make its move. This is where jammer packs actually become a real big part of the game. If you've got a full health jammer pack and you can sit inside the blue, catch teams off guard, that can be so valuable. But Takamura, he's not going to be able to catch that player off guard as he gets caught with a little bit of damage. Team Fate will lose Tater as Flanker, living up to his name, heading quickly down to the south, trying to catch OMG off guard.
Chunks, I think Valiant is still alive in the blue.
No, he died. Mira took him out. Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to work out where the 8th team is. I'm looking at the minimap and I can see 7.
There's a solo from Mog.
Yeah, that's one of the players I can see. And there's a solo for Mimic and there's a solo for Mula. We'll keep an eye on the kill feed anyways. Judd, he's going to step out with M249. Can he take somebody to the grave with him? Maybe. He gets the knock onto Necro from Tung Tung Sahura, and Mira are going to push over now, realizing this is a chance to stop Tung Tung from putting work in. Vorpal from Team Fate, he's stepping out now as he and Flanker, you pointed it out, rotated south a little while ago, but F-Thing will get that knock, and look at Mira, they're on the prowl, 8 kills on the board, and this nade might just be about to eliminate another. It does a ton of damage, but doesn't get the knock. The blue zone actually takes down Necro.
Hey, they're still able to get extra points on the board. That makes it 10 kills, make it 11, as they just get gifted with some crates landing right in the middle of that fight, but they need to be careful because OMG is starting to get involved as well. LFP will fall to Takamura, but he's quickly traded out by Fana. Fakes in, throws out the nade, drops down prone, goes for the heal, looking to try and find the flush. F-Ting returning the fire through the smoke, finds a little bit of damage onto the knock player, but not as much damage as Haven's able to find onto him. Systematica also starting to get involved, just lost third parties, but it's going to be potentially dangerous who finish them off from range.
Yeah, Haven now with the nade, tossing at 12 kills on the board, and, well, Carpe Diem gets caught out by Tony, and that buys a little bit of time for Mira. Now they can get the reses off, they can reconsolidate their position, and they can move in. It's a 4v4v1. Mog's solo, Fakta, is alive near a shack in the middle of the circle. He's actually going to lie in the long grass because it gives him a little bit more of that element of surprise. Best case scenario for Vakta is somehow Mira and PD do some mutually assured destruction and he can get a win, but I think getting second place here is not too much of a reach. You know, you wait, you hide, you stay hidden, you stay quiet. You never know what could happen.
I think it all depends on how Mira opt to play this. They've got vehicles. They've been playing ultra aggressive this game, and I don't expect them to stop. I think it just comes down to what info they have onto PD. If Tony's the only one that's taking shots, they might think this is a solo, although I doubt it based on how many players are left alive here. They just need to be careful when they approach it. They've got the vehicles, though. They will be making a rotate, and I expect them to actually attempt to try and crash into PD right now, and this could be huge for Fachita.
Yeah, this is actually working into their favor. Fachita might just be able to salvage a second spot out of this game. And that's not a bad spot to be in at all. Mira, they're going to smoke it out. Get a smoke closer to Tony. Make sure that his position is not able to peek on out. A good spray, though, will do a little bit of damage and force them back into cover. Look at Fachita. He's just swung his angle around just a little bit, Chunks, to have a peek at what's going down south to make sure that you know, you never know. You could get another point or two out of this, as Fana will get that knock on to Tony.
LFP, though, pressured by the BZ, they're limited in terms of options. This could be Nightavon's opportunity to peek up and get involved, but instead, he's just going to take shots over towards Fana instead. There's the flush found onto Tony, but Team Mirror not able to really make a push off of this. That hillside is just so open. They'd need a lot of smokes, or they need some vehicles, but luckily that's exactly what they've got. Glock, though, it's so low on DMR ammo. He's still able to find a knock with it. Nightavon finds one as well, so that's 2 players falling from Team Mirror. Haven spotted out, but the 3x barrel, it's just a little bit of a reach from this range.
Yeah, Rez is going to be attempted here as that nade is sent on over, but the Panzer could bring its unholy fist in. Glock's nade will get the second knock on to Fix, and so Mira back down to a 2. Fana will surely bleed out on the edge of the circle, but he can still provide valuable information to his team as he gives away the position. Gabri, we spoke about their position earlier to take a dip in the water to get the level 3 gear and the P90. Well, that is working out beautifully. It's just Haven left alive, and it looks like Fachta will manage to get that second spot. Haven will take himself out. Pachita, the last player alive, and well, for PD now, it's just shoot every bush, drive through everything, try to spot out where the solo player is, but another really good map from PD.
They are just so focused in on this shack, though. It could put Gabri out in the open, and that could lead to an extra point for Vegeta, but no, it's not enough. The P90 is just too strong, and so are potentially dangerous, showing just how dangerous they are. Winning that game with 10 kills. Beautifully done. Team Mirror, though, keeping things tight with 14 kills on the board. A real top-heavy game there, and real tough for the teams that committed Songan.
Yeah, a little bit windy there as I think the wind blew the barrel a little bit as he was firing some shots and didn't manage to land what he needed. But a big congratulations to PD. It's a win for them. It's 19 more points. The rich continue to get richer, which is good news for the teams trying to get into the top 4. Mira's 18 points will definitely help them get that little bit closer a game. It's back-to-back seconds places for them. Sorry, well, that was a 3rd place, but they got enough points that'll give them a nice little tally off the back of it. But is it too little, too late, Chunks, or do they find themselves right in the mix now? It's Team Mira. If I didn't see them in a Masters or an LCQ for the Masters, something would be wrong with the world.
Yeah, but even if they don't qualify this week, I think that just makes them even more of the favourites going into next week. But honestly, that's a really strong performance. That'll put them right into the fray of things, and there's still 2 games left to go, so plenty of opportunity for Mirror to have one more strong performance that gets them over that final hurdle. But we can't forget, we are only talking about the top 4 qualifying here. It's not the top 8 like usual, so that level just has to step up a little bit more. But OMG, they're putting up a really good performance as well. So many teams that we've been wanting more out of up there in the top half of the leaderboard. Let's take a look over at the overall standings, though, and see how that affects things.
Yeah, as per the overall standings, Best just still on top with 71 points, but Mira are in second now. Who even worried about where Mira were going to be? Of course they'd be qualifying. PD, obviously in 3rd place, but with them already being inside of the LCQs, that means that, oh my god, hold the last spot at this moment in time with 36 points. But only 3 points ahead of Dunks and 5 points ahead of Team Fate. So it's getting very tight. Mula Systematica, who we spoke about a little while ago, another few points for them. They find themselves now in 8th spot and even closer to those qualification spots. We're going to jump into a very quick break, though. When we come back, it will be Rondo. We're halfway through the night. Just 2 maps to go. We'll see you in a couple of minutes.
Love about these events like the PUBG Hot Drop 2025 that we just had is simply just meeting all of these amazing people.
PUBG for putting on this amazing event. It's been so much fun. It's been so great getting to chat to the devs, getting to see everyone playing games and having so much fun. Thanks to all the team that's put it together.
great to be here. I can only say to other PUBG players, come here next year.
Have you ever imagined creating your own PUBG game mode? Well, now with UGC Alpha, that imagination becomes real. All Plus users can create UGC Alpha sessions. Getting started is simple. Just go to Custom Match, UGC Alpha tab, then create your own session or join a friend's. By default, only the host can edit the mode, but editing permission can be granted to participants through settings. With UGC Alpha, you can place props, build custom maps, and set your own game rules. Anyone can join and play, up to 100 players per session. Want a simple but challenging parkour mode? Or maybe a chaotic deathmatch? You make the rules. You can save your creations anytime, or load them up later to keep building, even if it's not your mode. If you find a fun session while playing, just hit Save As and keep a copy for yourself. Need a head start? Try one of the official sample modes provided in-game. In the next video, we'll dive into object placement, movement controls, and how to bring your map to life. You can use the standard WASD keys to walk around. Double-tap the spacebar to switch to flying mode. Tap C to descend and space again to go up. Hit B to enter build mode. Now you can start placing props and devices anywhere on the map. To open the full editor, press P to launch the Edit Manager. Here, you'll see all available props, from walls and stairs to full buildings. Click any object, then press 0 to 9 to assign it to a quick slot. You can now press that key to place the object instantly. Need to fine-tune? Use E and R to rotate or scale. Use F and G to adjust distance. Press X to lock to axes, and Y to ignore collision. Want to test gravity? Just hit T to toggle gravity on your object. You can also copy, delete, or multi-select with simple mouse clicks and hotkeys. Next up, we'll show you how to set the rules of your game. Rounds, respawns, teams, you control it all. Let's dive into the rules setting. Press P to open the Edit Manager, then switch to the Rule Set tab. Here, you can fully customize your game logic. Set the number of rounds. Choose a score limit or time limit to end each round. Define how many teams play, anywhere from 2 to 100. Set team size, 1 to 10 players per team. Enable or disable respawn, and set its cooldown timer. Add invincibility after respawn for smoother gameplay. By enabling fill test players, you can spawn dummy bots to test whether your custom mode is functioning properly. If you'd like to play a solo game instead of a team match, simply adjust the team count and team size settings in the rule setting menu. For example, if you want a 100-player free-for-all solo match, set team count to 100 and team size to 1. Next up, we'll introduce the devices. Let's dive into the device setting. Devices are the logic blocks of your custom mode. They make things spawn, trigger, score, teleport, explode, and way more. Let's start with the core 4. The following 4 devices are essential for creating a basic game mode. Player spawn device controls where players appear. Player event device reacts to kills, survival, or any player action. Score manager device gives or removes score based on events. Round event device resets scores at the start of a new round. There are a variety of devices you can use, like triggering a red zone or setting background music. Feel free to get creative and use them however you like to build a fun and exciting mode. Trigger is when a device sends a signal to another device to activate it. For example, if you configure an enemy kill event in the player event device and connect it to the score manager device via the trigger tab, the player's score will increase when they get a kill. On the other hand, action is when a device receives a signal from another device to activate itself. If you set the player event device as the action target of a change score in the score manager device, the change score will be triggered by the signal sent from the player event device. Coming up next, we'll build a sample mode from start to finish so you can see how it all fits together.
Welcome back in, everyone. Just 2 games left to go on the PUBG Players Tour Player Cup, the penultimate one of the year, and well, it's just nice that it happens to be the penultimate map of it as well. This is Gibson and Chunks taking you through the action. If you're just joining us, Potentially Dangerous took the win in game number 2. Game number 1 won by Mula Systematica as we jump into our 3rd map of the night, Chunks. And as we go to Rondo, this map, the Great Equalizer. You call it Rondo, but I'd call it more random.
Yeah, it's one of those where we have had some circles that you maybe wouldn't expect in other events. A lot of really wacky ones that we've seen. We haven't seen a Jadena City ending, though, and that is something that I think, honestly, would be horrible in TPP. I think what you see a lot of the time in third person is when the players take compound battles, they opt to go for that first person, because it can be really difficult switching between perspectives inside a building. So I think that's something I would like to see, just see how teams adapt to it. But what I also like to see is a hot drop early on, and it looks like 4-0 and OMG already going to be trading blows.
Yeah, hot drop way down the south, and not the most familiar territory to have a hot drop, but why not see these two teams battle it out? Remember, FN and OMG both still feel like they've got qualification in their own hands. OMG, they've got the advantage, and I think that with them having the advantage, Chunks, they're taking the right decision. Fall back off this building, get into the building at the other side, get yourself looted up, and keep that vehicle. You want to know something, a little fun fact about this compound, though?
Of course I would.
Mark and I, that's the one and only Mr. Mark Powercasts, you know, from the EMEA side. I say from the EMEA side, even though you live really close to him, and I've met him in person a few times, but me and him have died in this compound 3 times, and every time it's my fault. I'm going to put it out there. It was my fault. Do you want to know why we died in this compound 3 times?
Because it was you and Mark playing together?
No, because I kept ego peeking the team in the position that FN were playing in. I kept being that guy with a bolty who just kept ego peeking over and over and over again.
You've been watching too many pros playing. That's the problem. Everyone has it. You watch too much PUBG Esports, you think, I can do this as well. And then it turns out you can't. As Bran, he's going to try and do something impressive here, because Team Casito, when they dropped, they were super split. I don't think Bran has any idea about these 2 players.
Yeah, and I think they know about him. Whatever about Bran. And, you know, if you are a fan of Game of Thrones, Bran is the 3-eyed raven. He's supposed to be the player or the person who knows and sees things and is able to garner all this information. But unfortunately for this Bran, he doesn't quite have that same ability. He's going to sit and lie and wait. He jumps on out, and Pachita is like, thank you very, very much. I would love a free point. And he eats that free point, and he takes it. He's going to keep an eye for the rest of Team Casito, but they are nowhere to be found.
Yeah, I do wonder what happened with Team Casito, because they dropped so split. I'm not sure whether the plan was maybe to go towards Tulin, where Potentially Dangerous dropped, and they decided, okay, let's peel off of it, but they were really far apart from each other, which is a shame, because if they had stuck together, they would have really good priority into this zone.
Yeah. I'm looking at the zone as well, Chunks, and it's worth pointing out that access points are limited in a circle like this. Like, everything towards the west is fully locked off because you've just got that road from Phong Tun that ends up in Minhu, way up in the north, but you're not going to come in from the west. So teams like Mog, even teams like Mula Systematica, they really only have to look 3 directions, not the traditional 4 that maybe some other teams have to. That gives them a freedom to play with a little bit more aggression. So take ground closer to the center of the circle, leave a player behind to fill you in, and if anybody does potentially come that way. Speaking of Potentially Dangerous here, getting pushed by Mimic.
Tony, I think he was trying to throw that frag, but accidentally used the smoke, so he left it a little bit late. The nade will not connect. Quinn moves up, got the MP5. It's so dangerous at close range. Smoke will come down from his teammate as Quinn tries to go for the flank, trying to catch him off guard, but Tony now holding the outside, watching the doorway. That position's going to be given away. I saw a Panzer for a second, so we'll see if that's going to be used to any kind of effect. It almost looks like Tony is trying to bait them to peek out onto this balcony so that his teammate's able to use it, but instead, his teammate pushes downstairs. Door will be shot. Quinn going for the boost, and that Panzer, be careful using it inside. We've seen what happens when there's a wall behind you.
Yeah, Gabri's got to play this smart, but if he gets a 1-for-1 trade, he might not mind too much, knowing that he's got a teammate not too far away. Looks like they've all regrouped, though. They've gone below. As Quintessential here from Mimic is going to hear the footsteps. Flax is holding the stairs on the other side, so PD got to be very careful about their next move. Good stun grade's going to force Flax into cover, but they don't follow it up the other side. Tony does eventually push on up, and Nade will do a bit of damage on the Flax. Can Gabri land another telling blow? This Nade tossed, and this one's perfect.
That's the opening. Mimic in real trouble now. They've only got one player left up, and I'm not sure whether he was going for the reload, whether he was trying to pull out a nade, but just unfortunate timing. The rest of Mimic finally getting into some kind of near position, but ultimately it's all for nothing, and this is not a position you want to try and retake. Just keep going, find something else, loot up, and try and survive. Hope that you can get back to this compound later on, maybe grab one of those blue chips, because, yeah, for Mimic, this is real rough.
What's even more bad about it, or what's a worse situation, is because it happens so close to the center of the circle, PD have no reason to give up the compound. So they're not going to give up the blue chip. Yeah, it's going from bad to worse. Oh my god, Celery! You're not supposed to win those. He gets the knock onto Loki, and that gives them access now to the site. Celery will wrap his way around. Can he confirm out at least 1 point off this one? Takes a little bit of damage from the other side. As far as from Tung Tung Sahur will hit him with a headshot, leaving it all down to Judd. He's got a Panzer. He fires. He misses. He dies. Tung Tung Sahur wipe out Mimic. And, well, for Mimic, it's not the way they wanted their Rondo to go at all.
They don't want to mimic that performance in our final game. They really need to change things, step things up, because, as we mentioned before, it's only going to be the top 4 that are actually able to qualify to the next round. And a team that have already qualified, 55 Esports, are looking to get aggressive. They're playing for prize pool tonight. They know that they're secure, but they want to get the practice, get that prize pool, and try and get a couple of kills here over onto Dots. But Shane has fallen, should be able to get revived. The rest of 55 now regrouping, looking ready to crash.
Can I give you a prediction?
Go for it.
I don't think 55 are going to get any of the prize pools tonight. They're
no,
too
but
far
they want
on the
it,
wrong side of the
and it's
leaderboard.
worth them trying. Look, all it takes is a 20-kill win, and they're back in the running.
Hell yeah. Easy. Easy in a
We've seen
lobby
Mirror
like
do
this.
it. I think we've actually seen on Rondo, actually, going all the way back to, like, week 2. Let's ignore that for a second, because Garak, he's got a Panzer, he's up close, but Valiate, the Vector, is too strong. The 9mm Warlord shows his face again.
Valiant Vecchi at it once more. 9mm in his hands. The Valiant Vecchi rings out another time as he reloads. The 9mm goes hard. Pipa drops a nade on top of himself as he got knocked by Valiant in 55. 0 points on the board. Mission abort. Mission abort. Get over to Psycho, because Valiant, he's just ripping us apart with a 9mm.
So I was about to say, look, 55 Esports, when they were under the Typhon Gaming roster, think about what they were able to do in the early weeks. We had a test track circle, and they got like a 20-kill win on this map. So it's not beyond the realm of possibility, although I will say they did have 4 players for that. So now being down to just a duo is going to make things real difficult, and I think you might just be right in your prediction that they're not going to make it into the prize pool.
Yeah, unless they get like a 30-kill win in the last map of the night, and
you just say it like it's nothing.
It's possible until it's not, right?
True.
Now what the saying goes. You know, I was watching some of the unspecified network TV, like digital TV provider that everyone has on their TVs, about a show about wrestling where the guy said impossible's a target. I believe it was CM Punk said it. Impossible is a target.
We're not going to get into
other broadcasting platforms are available. You're just sad because you like AEW and CM Punk left. It's fine.
Hey.
You'll be okay.
look, I'm not going to make my opinions known. We can talk about that after we're done. Bunko, he's looking down towards Lowly, but Varaz is watching the cross there and will be able to take down Pesadello. Nicely done to get the second point on the board here for Mog. Not losing a player either, but they have given away that position. So Juventus now looking to regroup, probably make a move, and yet with that circle, that'll be the cue to head away.
Yeah, it goes over towards Yao Tin. That gives Mog a great opportunity now in a circle like this. Remember what I said earlier? They do not need to focus on the west. All they need to do is look the other three directions. Towards Yao Tin, this is brilliant for them. Look at all the teams now that are beginning to mass migrate. You've got E-Pickups, Bestia are going to take to the skies. You've already got OMG up in the air. They'll look to make it further and further north. All these teams are now going to struggle. Yao Tin still holds a massive command inside of the circle, and I think that Tung Tung Sahur are the only team that are risking playing in and around it at this point in time. You still don't want to... I love this. Bestia, going to send 3 players in a convoy, send Mime to the sky. He can scout. He can tell them what's safe. This is really clever from Bestia.
Lost. Oh, final shot actually connects there onto Haven, but it's not going to be enough to do anything really significant, as Mirror will be looking to prioritize a very central position right now. So many teams rotating around. Mulder Systematica, they are super split. They are vulnerable to a crash, but right now it's going to be potentially dangerous to try and make a crash over on towards AKA. It's Dan Shin who comes out on top with the knock. We'll be able to find the flush as well. Looking to try and regroup. Gabriel, no! Nades onto Dan Shin, but yeah, Gabriel taken down by Nanu after receiving a lot of damage from his own Panzer.
Yeah, now Glock is in a bit of trouble here as well. He's taking damage from Zinni as Gladiator and the rest of AKA get to work. Glock in the open, headshot from Zinni. That'll deal with him for now. And AKA with just 2 players left alive, but PD getting the worst for wear in this battle. As it stands, it's only Nidavon left. He's inside one of those little temples, one of those little pagodas. But is he going to be able to get any work done? Because you feel like AKA are going to regroup. They're just going to keep tossing smokes. They're going to get everybody back on their feet. For Nidavon, this is like worst case scenario. And it's even worse because here come Dots.
Nidavon trying to find the damage onto the vehicle, but not able to. I mean, if there's a building where you would want to make a final stand, surely you think this is it. There's one staircase that teams are able to get up. You should, in theory, be able to defend it well, but Nidavon deciding to move away from this as AKA trying to find the spray. They just can't connect with the damage, and he's just about managed to thread the needle and get away to safety. But all I can think is Bestia right ahead of him. Is he just going to play a dip, or is he going to actually try and grab a compound, potentially make him vulnerable to Bestia?
Yeah, and I think that elsewhere, 55 are still just in trouble. Like, they've been beaten up. It was, I believe, a little bit earlier on. They got into that battle with Dots, and now they're going to resume it a little bit further away. Valiant, still probably rocking the double 9mm. Going to do some looting onto the body. I think this is the same compound, actually. It's still where we lost a few players earlier. But they're just going to keep the pressure on. And Psycho, he wants revenge. He's using the Pika Bus chunks to be able to peer up over the top of that wall and feed so much information around.
Circle shifts over towards AKA and Bestia, and this is a brutal area of the map to try and navigate with. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of dips and divots, as we saw Nitavon able to find one earlier. I'd assume that Shane Doe, he's just thrown some blue chips in the back of that vehicle before blowing it up. But it's going to be difficult. A lot of teams are going to be relying on those dips going into the late game, and the teams that have the compounds are going to be at a huge advantage to really set up a bit of a shooting galley. Psycho just playing slow, looking out for Valiate, was able to spot him, but it looks like Valiate may have been able to spot him in return.
Yeah, there's no reason Valiate would have a nade in his back pocket and his hand ready to go if he didn't know that Psycho was in this position. So Shane going to wrap around the other side. Both players preparing those nades. Psychos will see that first nade go off. It does 78 damage. The airburst, almost perfect. Does that lull them in? Nope. I was about to ask, does that lull them into a false sense of security? But then I remembered that Valiant is just straight up a menace. And he's going to pick up another point for his team. And all Oranzera can do is sit back and watch.
Nicely done from Valier, finding the third kill for not only him, but for the team, really putting in work this game. As Tater, out in the blue, really split off from the rest of his squad, but he's causing problems for FN right now as they are pinned down using the Dacia for cover. It's now lost both of its tires as Fate just start to spread out, trying to find angles onto these for nothing players. The smokes will provide a little bit of respite, but Tater's in the vehicle. You got to imagine he's going to try and take this hill just off to the left of our screen now. And then, yeah, for nothing, they are going to be wide open to him.
Yeah, Infinite goes down to the blue. There's only 3 players left alive. This is not good for them. This phase 3 bleed is going to start to really hurt. The Dacia has lost its tires and they're running. They're in a situation now where they're trying to find a vehicle and get on the move. It's going to be tough sledding for them if they want to make their way inside this circle and want to do so safely, because you go too far south, you end up wrapping and ending up going around that road by Team K0. Team Mira on a roll tonight, looking to overtake Bestia for top spot. Are they going to be able to do the work? Well, Haven will get that first knock. Takamura, no! Don't drop a nade on yourself. He's going to go down. Mira, well, we talked about can they catch Bestia. This is going to help. They're just picking up points for fun now. It's all down to Saitama, the last player left alive. Haven sprays through the smoke. Here's the footsteps. And there's 3 points for Team Mira.
And just think about the position that, oh my god, we're in going into this game. They were, what, 1 or 2 points off of qualification? They really needed a strong performance to be able to cement their place in the top 4. But as of right now, it's not going to be. All the pressure is coming down to a wrangle. And a lot of pressure on Verpal as he starts to get third party while looking for an angle over onto these Team Casito players, but just not being able to find it.
Yeah, we've got just over 16.5 minutes played. Fate still hoping to garner one of those top 4 spots or even top 5 spots for themselves. Moving very close to Team K0. Tater, gotta be careful now. Team K0, not quite the roster that we saw at the start of the year. I think when they lost Laucha earlier on this year, it had a huge impact on their ability to pick up points. But Vorpal will get that knock on to Angel. Tater will wrap around the side. Axmeyer, who has had some incredible 1v1 moments over the course of tonight. His position, though, is completely known by Flanker. He's going to get a flank off onto Bran. He gets that knock. This is really good from Fates.
Flanker throws out the flashbang, getting ready to go for the peak. Will be able to spot out one, but not able to get the shots off quick enough. Does he know about Angel's position here? It doesn't look like it, but Axmeyer, he's getting shot from behind. Fate with a really good flank going on here. They have pinched Team Casito into the corner, but Axmeyer is going to be able to come out on top. Takes down Flanker as Angel falls to Firefighter. More headshots being found onto Firefighter, but it doesn't matter because it's the end of Team Casito down in 13th position. Now a third party is coming through from Team Mirror, but they should be looking to try and get the revives quickly.
Yeah, 7 kills on the board for them and looking to add more, and nobody nearby that could cause a problem for them as they attempt to get these reses off. FN do look like they have made their way into the circle now as they'll move to the edge of Zhao Tin, which your Juventus are playing in, and Beneko will be standing, sitting and waiting, and for nothing are eliminated. A point on the board for Juventus as we have 11 teams left alive. 18 minutes on the clock here, Chunks, and Bestia looking really good in the center of the circle.
Juventus, 1 point on the board. They've got an entry into the zone, but they do need to be careful of Tung Tung Sahur over to the east. Mime finds the spray onto Batty. That's one of the Dots players falling on rotation. It's nice of On. He's been laying prone. I think he realizes with how many players are left in the game, it's probably worth going for the kill point. You're going to struggle to make it into placement from this position. But Nanu will hear those smokes, and he's got a nade prepped, ready to go. And he's surely got to think this will connect.
Yeah, it should be good. Lands inside the smoke. Not actually great. And Nanu might elect to fall back, but you know, Night of On was parched. He was in the desert. He was parched. He wanted a little bit of water to get him to get his lips wetted, and that's exactly what was delivered by that point. Like, you're going to take a free point like that every single day of the week. But Team Fate, 7 kills, southwest side of the circle. Nobody in and around their vicinity. You know what? I think Fate will get it at a minimum. Right, with that shift now, I think Fate are in a really good position to get even more points.
You gotta hope so. The question now becomes how to mirror play this, because what we've seen tonight is they felt really confident taking splits and taking team fights, so I wouldn't put it past them to maybe even send LFP and Haven not only back to the rest of their team, but even try and get proactive and send players down towards Fate's position. Nade bounces beautifully over towards that final PD player, but it's not to be, as Zevo will fall for Mog. We make it into the top 10, and AKA, they're just a little bit hesitant to push onto this. They know there's teams up to the north that could cause them problems, but I imagine that as this zone closes in and those teams get forced out of their compound, that will be their opportunity to push into Nightavon's position, although they need to be wary because Bestia are still in a position to hold them out when the time comes.
Yeah, 2-2 split for AKA as things stand. Looks like Gladiator's going to move close to Mime. Brandy's will get that knock on to Valiant as his reign of terror is going to end, and Mimix will get the last kill. Dots eliminated in 10th place. 9 teams left alive now, as Zhao still being held by Juventus, but they will now need to go with the blue zones. Phase 5 coming in. And when they leave, that will open up the door to Fate to get an angle depending on which pathing they take. Nightavon's got to get inside the circle. You've still got Mimixi from Tung Tung Sahura inside of Yaotin as well. Like, Phase 5 is not a good spot to be in at all, as we watch Mula Systematica, who started today on just 5 points and now find themselves incredibly close to qualification, making. Chunks, why were they driving so slowly there?
That is a good question. I have no idea.
Oh, it's the water. It was the swamp. It was the water in the swamp.
Ah, yeah. But LFP, he's causing them problems right now. What I was going to say is Dunk's Gaming, look, they've got 2 players inside of a vehicle right now. It looks like a BRDM to me. Now, I was going to say, okay, this is an interesting strategy, but if Systematica had gone a little bit further over this ridge, they had a Panzer at the ready.
What
and it
in the
connects,
hell?
blows up the vehicle. It's actually Mime who's able to find the kill, takes out Jumentus. Wow, that was huge. I think that was the BRDM. Now, God, no. What is going on? So many Panzers just popped off. I think that was 2 squad wipes at the same time.
Everybody died. Just everybody died in that blink of an eye. LFP here for Team Mira. Still playing up on top of the north side of the circle. They've got a great spot. 6 more kills for them. Remember, Bestia are in within catching distance. However, Bestia are still alive in this top 5, and they've got points on the board. A win for Mira could really increase their chances of getting that top 4 berth. But with, what, 22 and a half minutes, we don't have too long to find out. And this shift in particular could have a huge say on who's going to get this win.
So much open space inside this circle, but Fate can hold on to their position. Bestia can try and leapfrog over to the next set of ridges, but they need to try and deal with AKA and Dunk's Gaming. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're in a BRDM right now. They're just going to send it over to the shack next to the recall beacon. It's a little bit of hard cover. There is a crate there, probably been looted by this point, but at the end of the day, it's that little bit of extra cover, which in this circle is so scarce.
Haven inside the edge of the circle now. The blue right on his back, takes a lot of damage, so this is a tough rotate for Mira, as at least this half of the 2-2 split need to work their way in. Vader's still inside the circle. You spoke about the fact that we've still got Dunks alive and well as well inside, as Zenny will get that knock onto LFP. Haven will go for the instant res, because he's only got a couple of seconds before that phase 6 blue starts to close. Chunks, at this point, if you're Haven, get in the Dacia, get on the move and see what you can do.
Just get aggressive. Try and land the shots. The smoke providing cover for Gladiator. Giraffe King getting ready. Watching that cross. Not being able to connect. That BZ nade. It could be so useful in this position, because you've got to think that AKA are going to send more players over to it. But that nade from Vinny could be on the money, and it is. Nanu goes down. Zine taken down by LFP after already getting tagged out low by the grenade. Vinny will peek up, try and steal both kills away, but not to be right now, as Mime returns fire over on towards Dan Shin. It's only going to be Gladiator left up. The smoke starts to dissipate, and it's Bestia that get their 9th kill of the game, making it into the top 4. Should be able to find the revive onto Mime, but look at this from Fate. They have played so cautiously. They've got a nice ridge to work with. They've thrown down a little bit of extra cover. Things have to be looking up for them now. It's all going to depend on how Team Mirror play this.
I said that I thought that Fate would get at least 10 points in this game, and, well, they're right on the verge of doing so. Flood will look down. You've still got the BRDM. Essentially, well, not even full HP, half HP, or players sitting inside it. Bestia don't want to waste any ammunition firing this way. You want to save it for gunfights a little bit later on, but the question is, does anybody have what it takes to deal with that dangerous weapon or vehicle at this point in time? Chunks, it's all still up for grabs. This really is a game that can still go to anybody.
Does anyone still have a Panzer is the big question right now. Because if you can connect that Panzer, that would be a huge play. As Fake's in, now going for the reposition. Team Mirror, they're getting a bit antsy about this. You can tell that they do want to get aggressive over onto Fate. This could be the push coming through. Flanker laying prone. Watching out. Needs to reposition because right now he is completely exposed. Fakes in, lands some shots, but it's not enough to get the kill. And Dunks Gaming, they start to reposition the BRDM as the circle shifts up to the north. Mirror right now, really the benefactors of this shift. They are inside of the circle. They've got cover, and everyone seems to be focusing over on towards Dunks Gaming, trying to take that BRDM low. But Bestia are just getting absolutely lit up by Mirror from long range.
Yeah, Mira putting in some work. Dunks Gaming dealt with 10 kills on the board for Bestia as they are literally making 11 as they are screaming to Mira, you can try as hard as you like, but you ain't going to catch us up at the top. 8 kills now for Fate. They pick over the design Firefighter. He's going to see Flood moving in closer to the center, but that zone shift has really put the cat amongst the pigeons, and I feel like Chunks Fate are maybe just a little too late to the party with getting on the move.
Team Mirror need to make a move as well. They've got 2 players on the other side of the road. It's not going to be an easy cross for them. As Fate looking like they're opting to do this on foot for the time being, unless they are just waiting and they're all going to hop into the buses, which they do provide that little bit of extra cover over that Dacia that most teams will typically prioritize for their rotations. Firefighter looking out over towards Flood. Wasn't able to find anything as now they finally get ready to make the move, but Bestia, they are just waiting for it. DraftKings taking some shots, can't quite connect, but as damage gets traded, neither player able to convert them to a kill.
Yeah, you can just about see it. Firefighter will manage to land a tag onto Vinny, but he will give him one in return. Smoke grenades being thrown. They've kept themselves in a situation where they have a vehicle, Chunks, and they are just sending it for that shack that has a recall system right beside it. That's where they want to call their home. That's where they think their best play of getting victory is. But look at just how good this terrain is for Mira for guerrilla warfare.
Haven trying to find an angle, but it's too late to protect Fakes in, as Flood was able to find the knock. Util will now come out from Haven. That's a beautifully placed nade onto Firefighter. A second going to follow up onto the player that he was able to spot, but it's the other side of the wall. Vorpal will be safe for the time being. Molotov comes through, but it's now Bestia starting to cause problems for Vorpal. He drops down prone, hoping that he can get the heal off, then revive Firefighter, but it's too late, and that flame has flickered out. Fate laying prone, relying on the smokes as Mirror just looking to try and punish here.
Yeah, this is not looking good now for Fate. 3 players left alive, but both teams have drawn their eyes onto their position. Fana tossing those nades over. Haven will get a nade landed of his own. That'll get the knock on the flanker. DraftKings finds Vorpal. They're tearing apart at the scenes. 2 more. That's 14 kills for Bestia now, as there's only 1 member of Fate left standing. Mira, only 6 kills as they're able to gather so far. They get the knock on the DraftKings with 2 members of Bestia still standing. Even if Mira get this win, they're still probably losing ground to Bestia.
It certainly seems that way. But I think all the pressure now comes onto Tater. No one's expecting him to kind of make it and get the win, but if he can just outlast one of these teams, it's extra points, it's extra distance that's being closed for a team that really need it right now. And to be in the running with Team Mirror and Bestia, I mean, that puts you up there with some of the best. LFP tries to find some damage. Vinny does get caught out low inside of the smoke, but it's only a matter of time till they dissipate. And it's only a matter of time until that zone forces some of these players out of position.
Yeah, Mira on the move. Fate still with Tater left alive. He's prone in the long grass. Might be a situation like the last game where he might be able to find a second spot for himself. LFP will do the little dance here with Flood, as Bestia with 2 players up. find themselves with a blue at the back. Oh, this could be big. Tater throws the nade. He knows where Vinny is. Finds 38 damage. Tater is going for the kill. He realizes this might be the only chance to get some more points on the board. He throws the molly, but Vinny knows exactly where he was. Vinny jumps into the blue. He's going to fall. That leaves just Flood left alive. He ain't going to deny, though. He's going to go down swinging. There's one. Here comes a second. Can he add it to his tally? Ooh. Yes, he can. He's only got 2 players left up to deal with. Chunks, this could be huge for Flood.
Can Bestia open the floodgates? Only 1 player left up, but if there's a player who can do it, you gotta think Flood is the one. He's down to low health, throwing out the util, trying to nade out Fanna's old position, but he's already made the move. Flood now ready for it, completely open, completely exposed, and completely torn apart. It's Team Mirror that get an 8-kill chicken dinner, but in terms of the kills, it's Bestia who come out on top. 15 to go with it, so it's certainly looking tight up at the top end of things. I think at this point both Mirror and Bestia comfortably in the top 4, but there's still room for movement down in 3rd and 4th place.
You have to remember that with the points tally working out the way it is, Bestia have still extended their lead by a further 2 points, so the gap to Mirror is still increasing. Elsewhere, we've seen some teams that desperately needed points getting some on the board. I think those, you know, that double-digit point game there for Fate will help them with their chase for that 4th spot position. Dots picking up kills, but I think it's a little bit too much to ask for them to qualify inside the top 4 at this point, Chunks. But that was a good rondo. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it certainly was. It felt like there was so much action throughout the game. The circles were so difficult for teams to try and navigate, and it felt like, sure, we had a lot of action, but it wasn't necessarily early game squad wipes like we see a lot of the time. It was little scrappy fights here and there, and that BRDM making it to the late game was absolutely huge. The nade was effective. I want to go back onto the replays and try and figure out exactly what happened there. So what? Mime launched a Panzer that took out a squad. It was so messy. We're going to have to watch that back 2 or 3 times so I think we fully understand everything that happened in that short window of time.
Yeah, it didn't really go very well at all for a couple of teams in that little spray, as you said. So many players fell that we don't know who did what and how. I know Bestia got a couple of kills off the back of it. 12 points for Team Fate in 3rd place. AKA got 7 more points for their tally, but I feel like this is just more a little aperitif, an appetizer for that final leaderboard as things stand. The overall leaderboard, though, what does it look like, Chunks, as we transition over?
Yeah, let's find out. Obviously, we're going to see Bestia, Mirror up at the top end of things. Bestia with 91 points. They are well locked into the top 4. Team Mirror also looking relatively secure. But let's look down to 3rd, 4th, and 5th, because that's where we can expect to see changes going into our next game. Team Fate, off of that performance and making it into 3rd place, have now moved up to 5th overall. If they're able to have another strong performance, aka manage to fail, then that locks Fate into the top 4, not only the prize pool but also qualification. So there's a lot to play for going into our final game of the evening, only over on Erangel. We're going to take a very short break, but we'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
Captain Crispy.
Down. Fat Cap still alive. Just eviscerate the team just like that. They have taken the game.
What I would do for you. What I would do for you. What I would do for you.
Welcome back in, everybody, to the PUBG Players Cup, and this is it, the final map of the penultimate cup of the year. We will find out who the 4 teams joining the 8 who have already qualified for the Americas LCQ's Masters will be at the end of tonight, and then there's just 4 more spots up for grabs. But Chunks, what are these teams playing for? The opportunity to battle it out against EMEA in the final Masters of the year. But we'll talk about that more in a minute, because Chunks, we got a hot drop.
Yeah, you asked what they're playing for. I'm thinking, what are they playing at? Mimic, Juventus, both landed over at Lipovka right now, hoping that this circle is going to pop over to the east so they can play it a little bit slow. But Pesadello with some really nice opening shots, finding some damage, not enough to find the kill. Brandy waiting with the shotgun. It's a shotgun versus shotgun battle now. It didn't look like Quinn was able to hear the footsteps, and he gets punished because of it. Juventus coming out on top so far. And Mimic, wow, they were actually playing as a 3-man to start out.
Yeah, you lose Quintessential, so now you've only got 2 players left alive. I think this hot drop is... I don't want to say it, but I feel like Chunks' this hot drop is just because these teams don't really have a chance of qualifying without a massive one, and maybe they just want to have some fun to round out the night. But either way, what about that for a shift? This looks all so familiar.
Yeah, what a circle. Going up to the northwest. A long rotate for the teams that we're actually spectating right now. So they need to try and clean things up quickly if they want to stand a chance. I can't help but think, though, for a team like Fate that's landed over in Yaz, if they can rotate quickly up to the north and then into the circle, they could be in a really good position going forward. And that could decide their qualification.
Yeah, looking at the overall leaderboard, though, Juventus... I think that they're in 12th. They're on 25 points, so really qualification. They need a 25-plus kill win because you're not expecting all the teams above them to drop donuts. So this is a fight for pride. But Chunks, talking about the leaderboard, right? Teams in the hunt. AKA, Fates, Dunks, oh my god, Mula Systematica. But do you include Tung Sahur in 9th, or do you think that... Do you even think that maybe Mula Systematica on 32 are just a little bit too far away?
It's a good question, and I think, you know, there are so many variables in PUBG. Like, don't get me wrong, it's all well and good having a big performance, but if a team doesn't drop points, then yeah, that distance you need to gain does grow. So I think right now it's just about playing things by ear, try and avoid making predictions, see just how things unfold in this early game, because for all we know, you know, one of those top 4 teams could go down extremely early. Yeah, that really changes the game. Flax, he is looking out with that AK, trying to find an angle. Carlos has closed in. He's got the M249, nothing in reserve, but 89 bullets. That can do a lot of damage. Flax with the Panzer as well. They are just doing everything they can to try and make a good final stand.
Yeah, Panzer on the top of the stairs. They're daring Juventus to push on up, but the nade from Carlos is bang on the money. Celery is going to get dealt with, and well, there's still room for some more, having taken down Celery. Flax, will he go down with a boom? Will he go down with a bust? He's got the Panzer at the ready. He gets the knock on to Pesadeo. He switches over to the AK with a 2x, but the flash grenades are keeping him completely blind. He falls. Juventus will get Pesadeo back up because there is a recall system there, and that is 3 points on the board because, of course, we did see Mimic load in with just 3 players.
Just a reminder to everyone at home, make sure you pull up the map stream with !map because there's currently 3 EPs being used at the same time. That's 55, OMG, and Bestia all going to head to roughly the same position by the looks of things as everyone is sending it in as AKA. They've actually come into Lipovka. They're trying to third party, but Dan Shin is going to get punished for it right now. Carlos going to be able to find yet another knock for the team as DZ throws out the nade, but he wasn't expecting a player to be out in the open. He'll say thank you very much for the point. But Brandes tries to return the fire. Nanu takes down Carlos. Brandes down low and gonna be eliminated. Juventus out in 15th position. The teammate will not be back in the lobby as AKA getting themselves 3 points, but for nothing. Well, they are playing so patiently, waiting for Zico to expose himself.
Yeah, another VSS demon here is Zico. Got her at the ready, but Jimu will just hold that door. The second that Zico tries to move from one building to the next, it will be curtains. The vehicle coming this way from MHP, though, will let Zico know that this spot is completely taken up. He'll switch over to the Panzer to try to get this kill. He might actually get it if he fires this the right way, but MHP
this
not
is smart.
Gonna go just get...
This is really cool right here. So Zico thinks that he's alone in this compound, so he thinks that he's got the element of surprise. But Jimu has... Oh, no. No. He didn't have the element of surprise. He did have a Panzer, but somehow isn't able to connect onto Infinite. Zico quickly runs away, but he's got another one. He thinks he's on a 1 versus 1 right now. I think he hears more footsteps, knows that there's going to be more players around. But surely Jimu has to push and get involved, clean this up quickly before the rest of Dots are able to close in.
Nade's going to get tossed in, and I think that Infinite just about hopped out the window in time. The next Panzer, that one's a good one. That's good for the money and the show as the rest of Dots are going to arrive. Another Panzer. Yeah, why not? Call this man... Oh my god, I forgot his name. Never mind. This one misses too, though. Zico switches over to the VSS as he lands another few shots. We'll say DJ Khaled because it's another one and another one. Jimu for nothing. The last player standing up on top of this hill because he's got no support anywhere nearby. Sweezy's in the center of the circle, a million miles away. These are all good points for Dots in the end of the night.
I'm all for carrying a Panzer, but carrying 3? It's a bit overkill even by my measure. Jimu looking out as the BZ nades will pop. He has a bit of space to work with. His position seemingly given away, especially with that smoke popping. For nothing, trying their best to regroup here, but ultimately for nothing. They just spent too long to get their players onto this compound. They should have regrouped earlier on. Should have been an easy fight to win. But the Panzer, being the difference maker, Jimu gets flashed out. The rest of Dots will send it up the stairs.
Yeah, and this could be problematic for Jimu. Sweezy silent rolled up here, by the way, though, so I don't think the Dots realize that for nothing now have a second player nearby. Sweezy's going to continue sprinting over, moving to the tree, going for some evasive maneuverability on his way up. And oh, Shane, have you heard footstep? Do you know? Do you realize that Dweezy's there? You might realize in a second, because if you stand too still, Sweezy will unload 5.56 into the window. But I think Shane realized there's no reason he's peeking. I think he's peeking for the potential exit, but he's going to potentially fall. Sweezy, you got to hit those as well. A couple of headshots onto Shane. But do they think that Sweezy is Jimu? That's the next question I have. Is Jimu heading up on the top?
Sweezy might have caused enough of a distraction now, but Jimu's prepping nades of his own, so I think that for nothing have given away the fact they are two. Zico with a 4th Panzer now, taking down Sweezy, and it's all on to Jimu. Dots will find the VSS flush, and Jimu, he hops all the way onto the roof right now. Flashbangs will connect. but he's just laying prone, not wanting to give anything away. And Dot's seemingly confused. Do they know that he's up here? I think that they think that might have been the final player. This has got to be a real confusing fight for Dots right now.
Well, now they know he's there. And at this point, you got to try airburst this nade because it's really hard to push a player in the spot. 39 damage dealt with the first one. Batty's going to jump up and try to trade some more damage. Shane's doing the exact same.
Oh, he fell.
It's fine. Shane's got it. Dots wipe out for nothing. And that will be for nothing's Player Cup over. And Dots will actually overtake them in the leaderboard now for some bragging rights. And I think that might actually get them right onto the tails of Jumentos as well. While all that was going on, Chunks, Bestia lost a couple of players. I think that Flood's the last player standing. So, Mira, if I'm not wrong, we're 17 points behind. If Bestia have only got one player up, there is every chance that Mira, with the form that they've shown in the past, can capture top spot away. Zinni, though, he might be about to fall. He hops out of the UAS. He's toast. He's absolute toast.
Gabri's in a difficult position, though, and he's low on health. So all it's going to take is one well-placed nade, or one well-placed shot from Gladiator to finish off the job. It's all on to Nano as the final player now for AKA, the team in 4th position. If they fall off of this fight, then it really opens things up for other squads to be able to qualify. Nightavon finishes off the job. That's the end of AKA, and now they are in a precarious position. All it's going to take is Team Fate to get 5 points, and they will be able to overtake AKA, not only get a share of that prize pool, but make it through to the Masters.
Are PD already in the LCQs?
They are currently in 3rd position.
Yeah, but are they already in it from the previous Masters results?
No. Maybe.
My mind's gone blank, because if they are, the top 5 will go through. So maybe if we can get confirmation from the production side, if they can let us know. But either way, as you said, if PD, Aaron, it makes it easier for AKA. If they're not, AKA's chances are now hanging on a thread because Fate are still alive. Fate have got a kill plus an extra knock. They should be able to confirm that knockout, which will give them an extra point. And as things stand now, Fate move up to 45 points. So getting closer and closer to that all-important qualification mark.
I don't think that Potentially Dangerous have qualified, you know. I think that as it stands right now, 55 Esports, the only team taking part that are in. We'll have to get that confirmed, but this could be terrible for AKA. If PD haven't already qualified, Team Fate are looking down the hillside. I think they know that we have only a short distance to try and claim in terms of points, and they have a very strong position to work out of as well, holding on to this plane crash area, just hoping almost that more individual players will push towards them. Team Mirror, they've got 1 kill on the board. They're holding on to the cube compound, just regrouping before they decide to make their push. But hold on, Gibson. I've just noticed Gabri is being recalled right now. They managed to get the blue chip in time, so Potentially Dangerous are not out of this one.
Yeah, but where does Gabri go? Does he go towards Zarki and hope to get picked up by his teammates in a little while's time? He should spot out Varus, I think. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. He's
they do have teammates over in Yaz. I'm getting confused with AKA.
Yeah. You confused me for a second there. Gabri will be able to get some loot, but he's on the complete opposite side of the circle to the rest of his team. So just say PD are playing an expansive 3-1 split at this point in the time if you want to get some copium going. DG getting hunted by Mira still as fakes, and will look to find where the rest of the team went, having picked up those kills earlier. But as it stands, Fate, who are knocking on the door of the top 4 in qualification to LCQs, are right on par with as close to the center as you can get without putting yourself at risk from shooting range.
But let's not forget who's right behind them in the standings. It's Dunks Gaming. And who's right next to them on the map? It's Dunks Gaming. So if one of these teams gets an opening knock, you've got to imagine they're going to quickly push on it. If they're paying attention to the leaderboard, as I'm sure they will be, Karak holding that western side, getting ready to defend against any rotations. So Faraz will be starting to move in, so Karak might be able to hear or see this, potentially get a point on the board for 55, but I think as we mentioned, the prize pool is a bit far off for them today.
Yeah, 55. it's not been the best showing from them at all. Like, we expect a lot more from a team like that. They're a team that have lots of talent. You know, Orange Zero, Psycho, Pipa, and Kerak. Pipa in particular is incredibly experienced, but that circle shift, it'll help them. But, you know, what do they need, Chunks, at this point in time? They need 20 points to catch AKA, but that's provided the Team Fate don't pick up any more points. That's provided Donks don't get a lot more points. Like, 55 need a lot of things to go their way. They've got 1 kill. They need at least 9 or 10 more, but they do have a good spot in the circle.
Speaking of spots in the circle, we did talk quickly about Team Fate's position being very central in the previous one. They can still hold on to it for the time being, but they need to be careful for those rotators because Team Mirror are still down to the south. The whole of Dots are still in South Georgia Pole, by the way. They are just looting up at the moment, probably just stacking up on med kits. Maybe they've got an EP, they're leaving it a little bit late, but it's certainly an interesting strategy for them. OMG, a team that were on the cusp of qualification earlier, that gap has grown. They need a really strong performance, but it's not beyond the realms of possibility with only 11 points between them and 4th place.
In the wild and wacky world of PUBG, it's not over until it's over. It never is. As Team KZito peek up over the ridgeline, they have not had the day they would have wanted on 28 points as potentially dangerous. Continue to garner up points, and well, for DG, that is bad news. Donks have only got Jans left alive, and Jans is going to have to pull off a miracle here on Orangel if he wants more. Mira, who we spoke about, they can still win the whole thing. They just need 17 points to catch Bestia. They actually need 18 because place 17 points would leave them level, and placement points would give the tiebreaker to Bestia. So Mira need 18 points if they want to go ahead and get top spot and wrangle it away, which is what Mira do best. As Haven, he's in trouble. He gets a knock onto Psycho though, but I think Haven's done for.
That was really nicely done for RNZ right there. He was able to pop the tire and then managed to strike onto Haven. So we'll be able to get 1 point out of it, but look at this. Team Mirror are just sending it in now. Fana goes to the pre-fire, finds a little bit of damage, follows it up with a double nade. Not sure whether they'll bounce quite far enough, but now 55. They're trying to regroup and regain this position. Karak takes down Fakes in. That leaves only 2 players left up now for Team Mirror, who again, they look pretty secure, but never say never. I think they should just be in position, but every position that they drop is potentially dangerous. Are able to close that gap is a little bit less of that prize pool.
Well, they need 5 more kills and a win with only 2 players standing. So this is a really tough ask now for Fana and LFP. They might get the 2 more. It's a 2v2 against 55 on the edge of the circle. And if you get these kills, you could get to a recall system. You never know. The nearest recall system, I believe, is down by Plane, which is being held by Fate, but I can't see them going that way. Maybe they travel a little bit further towards Zarki. Fana and LFP still focusing on finding these players. Kerak will do a bit of damage, 34 to be precise, as Mifana will spot out the other player running through the open, running towards the edge. This could be another couple of points on the board for Mira.
Mira will be able to open things up onto Karak. Smokes, flashes will come over. They have an idea of where Pippa is, but they haven't been able to get a clear line of sight. Dots might be hearing this as they make their vehicle rotations in and may just opt to get involved with it. Nades coming up the hill from Pippa. It's time for Mira to try and triangulate the source of them to return one, but it's going to be LFP who gets caught out. And I think he might have been cooking an aid at the time he fell, so that could be the end of him. Firefighters starting to get involved. This is huge for Team Fate right now. If they can take down one of these players, that's 1 less point. They need to close up the gap. But Pippa, he's going to send it up the hillside, and it's Banner who comes out on top. 55 Esports down in 11th. As Dots, they're going to send it straight over to shooting range, and all eyes for me have to be on Team Fate and how they're going to rotate, because all the high priority positions are taken in this circle.
5 more teams need to fall as well before we get inside the placement points, which they desperately want. LFP will go down to the blue, so Mira have 1 player left alive, and that 1 player needs 3 kills and a win if they want to take top spot away. So I think at this point it's very safe to say that Bestia are probably going to take top spot. Tony from Potentially Dangerous He'll get that knock onto Axmeyer as this battle for the hill on the edge of Severny will kick off in earnest. Tony trying to keep the angle on the other side as that nade by Glock could be very, very good. It's good, but not great. 34 damage dealt onto Bran. Angel is going for the res. Way back over by the compound, which will be good for Team KZito. But Bran is fighting one hell of a battle against PD all by himself, it feels like at the minute.
This is much needed for PD now, confirming themselves that qualification spot. Just growing that gap even more as Gabri pushes through. Nightavon gets a second. Team Casito getting absolutely lit up as they look to try and find another, but Angel is just watching to find the spray. Takes down Gabri. Team Casito just going to be boosting, but they can't push out of this compound. It is just far too open, and Nightavon is still able to find damage even without them moving out. PD are rotating all the way round. Valiant just managed to run over 2 players from Tung Tung to Hor as they find the flushes on there. They've completely settled it, but Batty, no, don't copy Valiate. Not on your own teammate.
He just drove into the bunker and got himself 2 players. That is unfortunate. Fana picked up another 2 kills, by the way, there. So maybe the hunt is not over just yet. As Mira still push potentially dangerous who want to gather that second spot away. They're pushing now the last 2 players. Axmeyer is in flames up on the top floor. Glock will push with the AUG. Player popping a first aid, but you just don't want to push. You never know if there's a Panzer or what sort of cross is being held. That nade tossed in will clear out another room for them as they make this push, and Fana's hoping to use all this as a distraction to make him move into the circle himself.
Oh, they're both blind firing through the smoke. Angel will come out on the bad side of it, though, as Glock lands the hip fire. They try and finish off Axmeyer, and they will. That's Team Casito out in 4th. Just a heads up, by the way, we have got confirmation. Potentially Dangerous are not currently qualified, so this position in the top 4 is very important for them. The kills that they've been able to pick up will be massive in confirming their spots, so it is a fight for 4th place. Team Fate have been able to make it inside the circle, but they haven't got the kills that they need just yet to overtake aka Dunks Gaming, also with 1 player left up down on the southeast, so there's still plenty of room for movement inside of the top 4.
Yeah, Mira have sent Fana into the shack in the middle of the circle, the last player alive for them. Remember, stranger things have happened. There still is a chance that they make it as Zevo. Your bullets are going to just hit on the edge of that window as you look down the tater from Fate. Still a couple of teams to fall before we make our way inside the placement points. Fate are 2 points away at this point in time from qualifying. Their current massive tally of 11 placement points is just slightly higher than also known as 9. But Varaz will get a big knock onto Vorpal. That one should be confirmed, but Fana is dealing 96 damage from inside the shack. And now Gabri is tagging up here as well, so Fana has just done a massive favor towards Fate as Dunks are eliminated, which means really it is just down to Team Fate now as the only team alongside OMG who could really make a push for that 4th spot.
You say that, but let's not forget that there isn't a huge number of points to make that qualification. And yeah, there is room for movement up at the top end of things. I think Tung Tung Sahul just a little bit far away, given how many players are currently standing. They've only got Faraz left up as well as OMG. Team Fate right next to each other. The 2 teams that really are in contention for that 4th place spot if they can overtake AKA. But now it's a case of waiting for that circle, and I think that if you're a team that's on the edge of qualification, you are banking on it coming down to the south, because it is hard to push out of shooting range here. Firefighter and Flanker find 1. That's an extra point on the board. Fate can keep their players inside of this zone, but OMG, they have to make a move, and honestly, in terms of positions, do they just try and push onto Fate here?
1 more point is all that Fate need. They need to get it. If they get inside the top 5, it is over. And they are inside the top 4. Fana will find another knock. Should be able... Well, oh, that point might be stolen away by Mula Systematica. Keep an eye on that one because Mira, that kill would be the one that gets him in. Fana will get that point on the board. So now all he needs is the win. It's simple as that for Mira if they want to get top spot away. But Fate... They've got 3 points. They're on 46. They're 1 point away from qualification at least in theory, because Mula Systematica are still in the hunt, as are OMG. But at this point in time, they're the team with the best chance of qualifying. The circle keeps shifting away from them, though, Chunks.
And look at the position that OMG are taking. They're setting themselves up to cut off Team Fate. But look at this. Valiate and Shane working together with a double nade and a double knock to go with it. Firefighter, he's managed to get the flush. Now, that at least ties them up with AKA. It'll all come down to tiebreakers at this point, though. Then Verpal, he gets the confirm. That should be Team Fate qualified, unless there is an insane play from the remaining duo of OMG. They're committing over on towards Mog now as the util comes out. Flanker lives up to his name, finds the off angle, takes down Varus. That could be the end of Mog. Firefighter storming through the flames as Flanker finishes off the job, and that will confirm Fate into the top 4 unless we see an absurd play from OMG.
Or Mula Systematicos, remember, they're still alive inside the circle, but that's a big play from Firefighter and the rest of Team Fate. Potentially dangerous. 9 kills on the board for them as they're up now to 66 points as they target Team Mira ahead, but I think Team Mira have just got too many points on the board. Satan from OMG looking to just flame off the exit from this bunker that Dots are looking to exit from. I feel like for OMG, it is now or never, but it's just so hard. You push up over this ridge line and you feel like potentially dangerous will be able to get eyes on them. Valiant's going to push on up. He's going to take matters into his own hand as Dot step on up. Valiant will get the knock on to Saitama as he continues the 9mm supremacy, and that leaves just one player left standing. Vorpal picks it up, and now you can all but guarantee Firefighter and the rest of Team Fate will be playing in the LCQs next, or in a couple of weeks' time.
There's only 11 players left outside of Systematica, so it is now mathematically impossible, I believe, for them to be able to overtake and qualify. Although that is caster math, so don't trust it. And I think, Gibson, this might be the first time we've actually seen a North American squad outside of our partner teams qualify in the top 4 of a Players' Cup.
Been a while. It has been a while anyway, that's for sure. And you look at it, right? There's 10 placement points up for grabs. That would put Mula Systematica up to 42. Plus the kills. Fate are currently sitting on 51. I think you're right. Well, it's not mathematically impossible, but they would just need to get every single kill for the rest of the game. Faraz, though, he's going to fall. It looks like Dots are going to attempt to get this one on the board. Fana gets another knock on the Mula Systematica, as Mira are still putting in a bit of a battle here to try get the win. Now, will he get that kill confirmed? The answer is no. PD will steal that one away from Team Mira, and Fana will need to leave this shack in a few moments' time as well, as it's now outside the circle.
Shane Doe, he's got that AWM. Can he hit it? Because that could cause a huge problem for Fate here. The zone will start to make a move. As teams will be pushed out of positions. You've got to be looking at those southern teams, thinking how they navigate it. If you're Dots right now, yeah, you've got a bit of an entry, but you're going to have to expose yourself. Shane Doe actually goes down to the blue there. Not sure whether he'd already taken some damage or whether he just thought that he couldn't safely make the cross. The Beezy nade is placed well. Does a little bit of damage over onto Valiate as the flashbangs start to follow through. A lot being found onto these Dots players. Players from Fate, Verpal just laying down prone, not giving anything away. Flanker takes down Fana. That puts Fate into the top 4. Flashbang comes out from Verpal here as Molotovs get returned, but Dots, they are just not wanting to peek this.
Yeah, I love the aggression. Fate just playing. They've just completely taken off the blinkers now, and they are playing full steam ahead. 11 kills now for them as they are storming up that leaderboard. It is a 4v2v2. The question is how many points they can get. They've already got 11 kills, plus I believe it is 4 placement points for being inside the top 3. That's 15 points as they're on 58, with more potentially up for grabs. Mula Systematica, they give it a go. They're not going to qualify, but they can still get themselves above AKA, potentially, which would be nice for them going into the last game. But PD on one edge of the circle, Mula on the other, and Fate on the south.
Purple looking out, trying to find himself some position. Team Fate do have a little bit of cover, and they've added some extra to it, using those vehicles for safety. They've got the read over onto Musi, but they have not been able to find an angle. The smoke's just providing enough cover. You've got to imagine potentially dangerous, all locked in onto Systematicas. As Nightavon exposed himself, quickly forced to drop his head back down. Verpal seems to have an idea of where Glock is, but he's just not been able to find the angle to take the shots. As Team Fate hopping in the UAS. I thought we were going to see a C4 play for a second, but no. He's just going to reposition, take the shack that we saw Fanna using earlier, and get a little bit of a better entrance into zone, but the pre-nades are out, and that could be big.
Yeah, and it's just Tater that's gone, by the way. He made the call. He told Vorpal not to move. He says, I'll be the one that moves. Might have been to do with the fact that he feels with Vorpal having the level 3 helmet and level 3 gear, he stands a better chance of going on foot. The rest of Fate, though, they're still inside the zone as they spot out Mula Systematica moving their way in. Level 3 gear, double level 3 gear, by the way. I see a P90 and a Groza in the hands of Mula on the other edge, so you gotta be careful. Those two will shred you down pretty damn quick in this 4v2v2, but I feel like we're going all the way to phase 9 here, Chunks. I'm not gonna lie.
It's certainly a slow burn. Now, you know, a lot of players, they'll be monitoring that leaderboard. They'll know how many points they need to get. And then you'll have others that they just prefer not to. They know, okay, we've got an idea. We're close to qualifying. We just need to play every game like it's our last. And if Fate are one of those teams where they're not certain, they haven't been, you know, super focused in on the kill feed, then yeah, they're going to play this like it's the end of the world, like they have to get every point they can, and ultimately they just want to do it in style as well. Verpal will be getting called out by Nightavon's nade, but Nightavon is so low on ammo. He's got nothing in reserve. 28 bullets in his barrel, and that thing burns through ammo like there's no tomorrow. Glock will be taken out, but Nightavon there to trade it. Big spray comes through from Flanker as Firefighter tries to watch over onto this tree. They need to get over to the shack to get that player back into the fight, but it looks like they're just going to send it in the vehicle. Firefighter goes to the seat swap. It doesn't work out. Nightavon finds the spray. He's got barely any ammo left, but he is getting peppered by Flanker right now, who's just looking for the feet sticking out of the back of the tree. Gets over to cover. His teammate almost certainly going to be dropping some ammo, but Nightavon, he's just used the last of his bullets to get the flush.
Yeah, I picked up that extra point for potentially dangerous. This game is now Mula Systematica's to lose. Sonics with the P90 dropping his way around this edge. Flanker tossing whatever utility he can over into the distance, but nothing explosive, nothing that can really help him at this point in time. Now, at this point, though, Fate have still got the job done. They've made their way into the LCQs, so it doesn't really matter. This is all for pride. Potentially dangerous with 12 kills on the board, by the way, and a win here would give them 22 points, which would get them up to 79, which is still not enough to take second spot away, but it'll help as Flanker will dip into the blue just for a little second. Sonics is getting bored. Sonics is like, go on, just let me shoot my P90, please, Chunks.
And now he's getting frustrated at the smoke. He's waiting for that to dissipate. KPN throws down a foldable shield. Decides to pick it up, move it forward. Just sneaking his way in. Knows that Nightavon will have to make a push through the smoke sooner or later. Sonic's now getting an idea of where that player is. Lands the hit fire. Big damage, but it doesn't matter. KPN gets the kill. And it's Mula Systematica who pick up the win, but it's just not going to be enough for them to be able to qualify in this one with only 4 kills on the board. The ones who have stolen the show have to be Team Fate with an absolutely absurd qualification. They were just on the cusp and they played like their lives depended on it.
Yeah, double-digit kills, just took matters into their own hands. They played that game really well. Up at the end, I felt a little sorry for them. There wasn't much they could do once they sustained that first knock on the shack. It kind of became a tough spot, especially when a Panzer was there. But they got over the line. For Mula Systematica, they'll be disappointed. They got a win, but that'll put them in 5th spots. Not enough to qualify, but it's something I think they can take into next week. And you'd like to think that next week, it'll not be as difficult as the likes of Bestia probably won't be there. PD probably do show up. We know the Brazilians like to play in these whenever they get the opportunity to do so. But like little plays like this, like Flanker had himself one hell of a game. I think he had 6 kills at one point. So He had a big game.
Yeah, I think credit has to go to every single player on Team Fate that game, and credit has to go to Valiate for that crash right there, being able to take down 2 as he sends it over into the bunker. And it was looking close. I think if OMG had managed to avoid losing players in that bunker when the crash came through, we could have been looking at a very different story. But ultimately, they were down to 2, they were down to 1, and then they were out of the equation altogether. And Fate, well, they made the most out of it. But all credit goes to Muller Systematica there for being able to pick up the win. And let's take a look over at the leaderboard for that game.
Yeah, 18 points for PD, 16 for Fate, 14 for Muller. So even though they won the map, they only got 3rd place when it comes to overall points gained. Dots with 11, that'll put them up to the leaderboard. I think they'll still remain on the right side, which is the wrong side to be on, but it's nice to get 8 kills in the final game. Mira with 10, it was a valiant effort, but they'll still remain, I believe, 7 points behind Bestia, which is exactly what it ended up actually being 8 because Bestia picked up 1 kill in that game. But Chunks, for the viewers at home, let us know who the 4 teams going to the LCQs are.
Yep, so the 4 teams are going to be your top 4. It's Bestia, Team Mirror, and potentially Dangerous and Team Fate, and they're also going to be taking home a share of the prize pool. Let's take a look at that one, as Bestia will be taking home $400. Second place goes over to Team Mirror, who take $300, potentially Dangerous with $200, and Team Fate with a $100 game right there.
Yeah, but it's the qualification for the LCQs that matter most for them. They'll go head-to-head with the top teams in the Americas. So here are your 12 teams qualified so far. For the Chunks aforementioned, plus Furia, Falcons, Liquid, Al-Qudsiya, 55, Toyo, Rock, and Mission Ready International Alliance. There's still 4 more spots up for grabs. They'll be sorted out next week, Chunks, in the final PUBG Players Cup of the year.
Yeah, only 1 more to go. Time has flown by. And look, Mirror, look, they weren't first place this evening, but again, they steal the show in terms of kills, in terms of damage, and survival time. It's just Bestia were able to consistently place a little bit higher, but credit to Team Fate as well. They were consistently making it to the end game, and they were a team that I don't think anyone would have expected this out of coming into tonight, but still, huge performance. In terms of individual players, though, let's take a look at who stole the show, and I do have some suspicions that Mirror players are going to be up there yet again.
Yeah, 3 of the 5, Fana, Haven, and LFP coming in huge for their teams. 17 kills for DraftKing, though. That's a big performance for him. Flood being up near the top when it comes to total damage. He always is. He's the sort of player that loves DMRs. He's great at getting damage on the board. And then DraftKing with the highest KDA of the lot. Nice to see Mime Primetime in there as well. But, Chunks, that kind of brings the conclusion. The penultimate Players Cup of the year.
It does. Only 4 qualification spots left that will be decided next week. The same time, same place. And just a reminder, you can register to take part in the scrims throughout the week if you think that you're going to be able to qualify. So do !point register in chat to get yourself signed up, playing the scrims, and we might see you here next week. But from me and from Gibson, thank you very much for joining us, and we will see you all next week.
close my